Curtain Network.
¡Y anota touchdown! ¡Improbable! ¡Increíble! El Boss de Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? DJ Watt.
What is up, Steeler fans? We are back. It is time for day 3 of the 2026 NFL Draft. Just when you think you couldn't get enough, Jeff Hartman and Dave Schofield, we are back for day 3. I do appreciate everyone that followed along for our live draft party in downtown Hagerstown at Viva's on Potomac. We do appreciate them, Meinl Schmidt Distillery, for hosting us the last 2 nights. But we are back in our friendly conclaves of our basements or wherever, our nice comfy chairs. As always, I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Dave Schofield. What's up, Dave?
Hey, I'm here. I'm back to my regular squeaking chair that I'm sure you can hear through my microphone at times. But I need to invest in some WD-40 or something. But my voice is still here. It hasn't gotten all the way better, of course. But the good thing is it didn't get worse. I say that's good for me. That might be bad for everybody else.
All right. We have also 2 people that are joining us to start the show to talk about what's happened and what might be coming up. Let's start with Coach Kevin Smith. Coach, what's up?
What's up, fans? Steelers fans? How's everybody doing? I admire Jeff and Dave, man. You guys have been going strong at this for the last couple of days. Good stamina on your part.
Cumulative 8 hours of live streaming over the last 2 days. So it's been a grind, but welcome to the show. And then Roy Countryman, who you can hear him on the Steel Curtain Network on his Black and Gold Blueprint podcast. He's been on me with Let's Ride on our Monday morning conversation and probably will be again soon. But Roy, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Like, this is the whole weekend of Christmas time for us, opening these new presents to see how all 32 teams get better. And as we were kind of talking beforehand, this is sicko territory today. We're 4 through 7, so this is the realm I live in.
Well, I'm glad someone does, because I certainly don't. I was saying, hey, but once we get to like middle to late second, I'm like, I don't know who most of these guys are. And so that's just me just being honest. All right. So let's start with Coach Kevin Smith, because I know he has a little bit less time than Roy does to start the show. Coach, round 1s through 3, day 1, day 2. What do you think about the Steelers selection so far?
I think my big takeaway is it shows that they feel pretty comfortable with the current roster. I mean, they didn't really, I don't want to say there was no sense of urgency, but they certainly didn't reach for guys that they feel must fill holes in the roster right now. I mean, the biggest sense of urgency, I think, was at wide receiver, and they nailed it. I think Jeremy Bernard is an absolute perfect fit for the offense, exactly what they needed. And he's going to play right away. But all these other guys are most likely a year away, some maybe even more than a year away. Big IMAX at tackle. I don't think they'll need to rush him into the starting lineup. I think they'll give Dylan Cook the opportunity to start. They can develop him. This is a guy that didn't play football until he was 21 years old. So, he needs some of that development. The Everett kid that they took, the corner, is a project. I mean, maybe he'll show up in a dime package, but I think that he's an investment. I think Jennings Dunker is on path maybe to be a starter a year from now, but I certainly don't think that they're going to try to rush him into the starting lineup. And then obviously Drew Aller is an investment. So you look at what they did in the draft, and it looks like they're only going to get one guy who will be a significant contributor out of the gate. And that's, to me, that's not a problem. To me, that tells me that they feel pretty good about where the current roster is.
I want to talk quickly about the second round draft selection. Obviously, we're talking about Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama. Compare him to Mekhi Lemon for those that might be wondering what could have been if Philadelphia doesn't trade with Dallas and goes up and takes Mekhi Lemon out of USC and the Steelers get IMAX. Obviously, Max E. Honachor. I keep on having to say that to get it, in my brain, but still, Jeremy Bernard versus Mekhi Lemon. Coach, what do you think in that comparison?
Very different players. They both.
Which is a better fit for the Steelers in your opinion?
Oh, Jeremy Bernard, 100%.
Okay.
I was never on the Mekhi Lemon train. I worry about his ability to separate. And so much of what he does is, or at least what he did in college, was to make explosive plays in the open field where he was just a better athlete than just about everybody else, or win like contested balls, 50-50 balls. Well, when you're 5'11", you can't rely on winning 50-50 balls in the NFL. And you're not going to make as many explosives because you're not going to just be better than everybody else. So you got to get open. You got to understand routes. You got to be good in reading zones, sitting down in zones, et cetera. I think he's a scheme-specific guy. I think that Bernard, what he does, great route runner, can play all three positions, X, Y, and Z. Also great with the ball in his hands. But the big thing that separates him, he blocks, man. I mean, Jeremy Bernard blocks. And
didn't he used to be a guard?
What's
something
that?
Like that? Didn't he used to be a guard or something?
His football career playing guard, playing no line, right? So he's got all those attributes. To me, he's a much more complete football player.
Interesting. So I'm going to throw it over to Roy Countryman.
Yeah.
Roy, I'm going to ask you similar questions as it pertains to what you think of the Steelers draft thus far. And then let's start to break down a little bit. What's your take?
Well, for me, like day one, I was pretty upset. I'm kind of opposite of Coach here. Like I thought Mekhi, and then the whole situation with it coming out too, the way it went down with Mekhi being on the phone with the Steelers, I think it was a real bad look on the face. But I will say the people that are saying it was a panic pick, like Artie Burns, that's simply not true. Hanachor is a high caliber player and might be in the long run a better player than Lemon because of the upside we have yet to see in a Hanachor. So, and then when you back that up then with the pick of Jeremy Bernard in a second, you know, all wounds are healed. Don't forget, don't worry about anything. I'm with Coach. I actually like the fit better for Bernard in this offense, the toughness factor, the size a little bit more. I know a lot of people are talking about him being like a Juju Smith-Schuster. I actually see him as a receiver that Rodgers played with earlier. I forecast him almost like a Greg Jennings, a guy that came out of the MAC, kind of that under the radar, does all the dirty work, but just really blew up in the NFL. So I really like that fit with Bernard. And then, you know, people are saying Aller pick. For me, if I'm going to take a dart throw at any of these quarterbacks, it was definitely going to be in the range they were at there. And why not take the biggest lottery ticket with the highest upside? If McCarthy thinks he can get it out of him, who am I to say no? He has all the traits, the big arm. It's just his footwork and a lot of the technical stuff is a complete mess from that coaching staff at Penn State. So then you back it up with Everett. I think he's going to probably be a gunner year one. But don't lose sight that Jamel Dean has always kind of got nicked here and there. So if Asante Samuel's not the guy that wants to play outside, maybe you see a little spot appearance by Dalen Everett. 41 starts there at Georgia. That's a lot of high caliber matchups there. And I see a lot of people saying like he's a poor athlete. The guy just had a couple bad games here and there. He's a ball hawk. He's not afraid to tackle. And then when you back it up with Jennings Dunker, I think he really has a chance of being a week one starter at left guard. I really do. He's going to have to beat out Brock Hoffman, but that's the guy that's the bouncer at the club, ready to do things against people's will. And I think that's the one part of the nastiness we needed in the offensive line yet. And I really think it's going to be more of a fact of if Hanachor is more close to being starting week one, you're probably going to get Fatani at left tackle.
What's up, Dave?
We already have news. The Raiders moved up to the first pick of day 3, trading up to pick 101 from 102. And Buffalo slides back one spot.
Buffalo's wheeling and dealing already. They've been trading
so
a lot.
That's from Field Yates.
All right, so I want to talk to both of you guys. I'm going to throw it to Coach first. We're just going to go back and forth. Let's talk offensive line here for a second. I want to talk about Jennings Dunker, which it was ironic as I looked up NFL.com, so Lance Zierlein's overview, strengths, weaknesses, and he puts his player comp. Not sure if you ever saw who his player comp was. It's Mason McCormick. That's who he compared Jennings Dunker to. And Coach, I agree with you. When Mason McCormick was drafted in the 4th round out of South Dakota State, we all said, this guy, he's probably going to learn. James Daniels is there. Then all of a sudden injury happens and he gets thrust into the lineup. And I wouldn't say his rookie year was all pro, all world, but he held his own. His natural position, though, is left guard, I do believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's when he was in college. If you're Jennings Dunker, first, how difficult is the transition from playing tackle at Iowa and then moving inside? Is that seamless? Does it depend on the athlete? And what do you see the 2026 offensive line being from left to right? Coach, I'll let you go first.
Well, to the question about transitioning from guard to tackle, because people talk about it a lot. I think it's a lot harder than many people believe it is. Two very different skill sets, two different sets of circumstances. You're playing guard, you're blocking Dexter Lawrence. You're playing end, you're blocking Myles Garrett. Those are two, or tackle, I should say, you're blocking Myles Garrett. Those are two really different players and how they go about things. You got to be able to anchor if you're going to go inside to guard. You got to be able to move people. You got to have to have a stronger center of gravity, legs and hips. The builds are different. Now, Dunker can do it because he's got that tweener build. Faltano might be able to do it if they needed him down the road. But a guy like Broderick Jones, no way. A guy like IMAX, no way. They're just too tall, too long. They're never going to be able to get leverage on the inside. They're going to have 3 techs playing under their pads all day long. So that's a problem. Dave.
Pick is in. Raiders have selected Tennessee cornerback Herman McCoy.
Good for him.
Oh.
Good
So
for
he
him.
finally goes. They trade up one spot in order to get.
Shoot, did you hear about his? We'll go back to coach about the offensive line, but did you hear about the surgery that he's going to potentially need? And if it goes wrong, it could be a career-ending injury. Like, he's definitely going to miss. They said likely a season. It's a bone plug.
Yeah,
that just sounds rough.
He's not the first one to ever have it done, though. That's the thing, is like Trevon Diggs had to have a surgery similar to that after his ACL tear. So it's one of them things. People are just, I think, knocking him down for the value of the pick where they're getting him. And if he winds up being able to play at any point here, that's a steal for the Raiders.
That is true. All right, Coach, back to you about the offensive line. What do you got?
So I guess my point would be, I think Dunker can do it. I think physically he's suited to do it. He certainly has the mindset of an interior offensive lineman. I mean, those guys, think about this: Dunker, Frazier, McCormick on the interior of that line. Maybe not this year, but in 2027 for sure. Nasty, man. Those guys are physical. They're nasty. What do the interior guys have to do? What do those 3 have to do? They have to push the D-line in the run game, and they have to set the depth of the pocket in the passing game, which means in both regards, they got to be physical as hell. Well, the Steelers have 3 really physical guys. Roy said, bouncers at the bar, man. I mean, if you come to the bar and Dunker, McCormick, and Frazier are the bouncers, I might just turn around and leave. I'm going to be on my best behavior.
All right, Coach, predict the offensive line from left to right in 2026. You said 2027. That's great, but what do you think it is going to be this year?
I'll say for week one, I'm going to go with Cook at left tackle, whoever wins the competition between Anderson and Hoffman at left guard, Frazier, McCormick, and then who's our other tackle? I just blanked out.
Faltano.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Roy, same question to you about the offensive line. What's your take on the transition to guard for Jennings Dunker? And then also what's your prediction for what the offensive line will be in 2026 left to right week 1?
Yeah, so to me, it's going to be a seamless transition for Dunker. He is similar to McCormick. He has a ton of experience starting. I know it was at right tackle mostly, but early on in his career, he played left guard for around 120 some snaps, and then right guard for around 55, I think it was, at Iowa. So he's not completely foreign playing the inside. He also played guard in high school some. So I think for me, I think he's going to have the quicker transition the same way McCormick. And I think it's going to really come down between Dunker and Hoffman at left guard. I think Anderson's going to be kept in that role of the versatile off the edge third tight end package. And I think if we were talking about Mike Tomlin being coach and the same coaching staff, I would say Dylan Cook. But I also think Mike McCarthy is going to look at these guys and really say, give me the best 5. And if they're young, we're going to take our lumps and we're going to go from there. I think it'll be Fatanu, Dunker, Frazier, McCormick, and then Iheanacho at right tackle.
Well, so you're saying Fatanu switches to left tackle.
Yep.
That is intriguing.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Yep.
If you switch Fatanu to left tackle, would there be value in switching McCormick to left guard back to what he played in college and keeping him between the same 2 guys?
I mean, yeah, that's definitely that's why it's so intriguing with Campen being the offensive line coach and some of the talents that he's worked with in Green Bay over the years and even in Carolina. Being able to have a new perspective on some of these guys and maybe fitting the pieces in where their long term is rather than the short term. Because you don't want to have a situation where we have Broderick Jones, first round pick, right tackle, left tackle, right tackle. We got to get these guys in their spots now, get them used to them, and get it set so that we have a line 5 years from now set. We don't need to keep flipping guys back and forth. Kevin Dotson experience. They flipped him to left guard. He played over 2,300 snaps at right guard. Then we couldn't figure it out. Winds up going to the Rams and being a Pro Bowl, almost all pro caliber player.
Nah, he's never made the Pro Bowl. Remember that. Steelers fans thinks that he's all pro and everything. Like, he's still never made the Pro Bowl.
High caliber starting guard.
But he's been very good. He has been very
good with the Rams, where I think a lot of it had to do with switching back and forth. Like Coach was saying, it's a harder thing than what people think. Switching from even tackle to guard and then switching sides left to right. Whenever you're playing, numerous, thousands of snaps at one place, you get habits in certain situations. And I think we look at this in the situation, we need to go what's best for the long term rather than just what's good for 2026.
Man, I'm here for taking the lumps. I swear I am. I really am. And so when you say Falatanu potentially moving to the left, IMAX on the right, Dunker at left guard, like, hey, let's figure it out. I'm for it. I'm for it. What was that?
I don't know. Ain't going by.
Somebody near a train? What was that?
It's like a couple miles away. If it's right here, I got a problem. I gotta go.
We don't know. Okay. We don't know who that came from.
It wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
All right, we can't not talk about Drew Aller, okay? Because it was a 3rd round pick, and everyone's talking. I'm not trying to connect any dots with Aaron Rodgers. My dots I want to connect with Will Howard. Because now you had a developmental pick in the 6th round last year of Will Howard. Now you have another developmental pick in the 3rd round of Drew Aller. Coach, how do you see these two players? And they've kind of always been intertwined going back to, I heard the Will Howard wanted to play for Penn State and they were getting Drew Aller, whatever. Coach, what's your take on this situation moving forward?
Well, obviously Will Howard's going to get the first crack because he's been there, he's got more experience, et cetera. I don't know how it all gets muddled if Rodgers shows up, which I think, are we still operating under the assumption that he's going to be here? Is that still the consensus?
I think we are, but he could do whatever he wants. I mean, that's the thing. You just don't know.
Which honestly would be fine. Like at this point, I'm 100% fine if Aaron Rodgers moves on or, doesn't come back, whatever. Because you now have 2 prospects that you really need to be able to evaluate. And I guess here I want to ask this question. I hate to answer your question with a question, Jeff, but I'm going to ask this question. Do you guys think that Mike McCarthy's tenure in Pittsburgh will be tied to his ability to develop one of those 2 guys? Like if he can't do it, if we're 2 years from now and we're still in quarterback purgatory, are they going to let him try again? Or is he casting his lot now with Will Howard and Drew Aller?
So you're saying that, do you think the Steelers, like the ownership, Art Rooney is saying, look, I want you to get a quarterback and develop it. If you can't, then we're going to move on. Is that what you're asking?
That's why he was brought here, right? I mean, we're a year from now. Let's say we're a year from now. And it's like, let's do what's our prognosis on Drew Aller and Will Howard? And if Mike McCarthy is like, I don't know if we're going to make it work with one of those guys, are they going to let him draft a 1st round quarterback next year? Like how many times are they going to let Mike McCarthy? And I know he's just starting out, but I think it's a legit question. How many times are they going to let him cast his rod to try to catch that quarterback?
Hey, I do want to jump in here because we are a couple picks behind, and there's one that we might want to say something about. The Buffalo Bills trading back took Jude Bowery, offensive tackle from Boston College,
Boston College, yeah.
And then the Jets took Darrell Jackson Jr., defensive lineman FSU, which I know a lot of people were hoping the Steelers would get in round
5. Brought him in for sure. I do want to get the super chat up here before we move on and start answering Coach's question. Tim Lyons gives us $5.
Remember, he's a Bengals fan.
Yeah, he is a Bengals fan. I like Max, Dunker, and Bernard for y'all. Great offensive upgrades. Thank you very much for the tip. We do appreciate it. And as Coach and everyone else has said, we've been pretty happy with day 2 especially. So I'll go ahead and answer Coach's question and query first. I think it would be really unfair and a very un-Steeler-like move to even suggest that McCarthy has a short leash. I think they won him. I would say that they're going to encourage him to take shots, meaning, Coach, get some lottery tickets. if we don't have the top 10 pick yet, and we don't have the ammunition to move up and go get one, if we have a lottery ticket in the 3rd round, take your pick, go get him, and let's see if we can develop him. Because I said this last night on the live stream. If Drew Aller turns out to be a really great quarterback and has all these different things, going on, and he didn't have good receivers and he didn't have good coaching at Penn State, and Mike McCarthy can coach him up in a couple of years, I'm not going to be upset. I have no loyalty to anyone. I have loyalty to the Steelers. That's it. But Roy, I'll let you answer Coach's question. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, to me, I do think in some part, yes, it is tied. I think we will weigh, like as a litmus test, what the success is, but I don't think it's going to be weighed upon his job. He also comes from the Ted Thompson kind of Green Bay era, where they believed in taking a quarterback every single draft. Every single draft continually improved the quarterback depth chart, whether it was a practice squad guy all the way through. But I'm like you, Jeff. If Drew Aller hits as a 3rd round pick, guess what? We just reset our franchise for the next 15 years. And I also go back to a conversation I had with Jim Wexell. And he said in a conversation with McCarthy, with the media, saying at I believe it was the combine, he's never had the type of access or lateral ability, like the responsibility that he had with getting in the floor with these prospects. So you think about that with Green Bay and the Cowboys. He is now in this situation with the Steelers, has the most power amongst what places he wants to take picks. He's going to take those lottery tickets. And I think that pick more than anything says so, that he believes in his skill set at developing quarterbacks. I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to take Will Howard, and say both of them hit, guys. Say both Will Howard hits and Drew Aller's really impressive. That's a good problem to have. We've seen it before. New England, you had, I'm not saying either one of these guys are Tom Brady. Jimmy Garoppolo was the next big thing. You trade him for a big package. It's never a bad issue to have quality passers in the pipeline. And to me, I say yes, it'll be a litmus test to see if his quarterback whisper is actually true. But I also am not discounting every single year we see a quarterback drafted just to keep replenishing the coffers.
To that point, real quick, Roy, I did a breakdown on this for an article I wrote last week. So in the last 10 years, less than 10% of the quarterbacks drafted outside the top half of the 1st round have become starters.
Yeah.
It's something, it's like 7 out of 88, something like that. So the odds are unbelievably low that you're going to take one of these guys and turn him into a starter. Yeah, I agree with you too. Phenomenal if Aller or Howard is able to become that for the Steelers. But in all likelihood, we're probably looking at doing this again next year. And that, I guess that's where I get, like, if you're a year from now and you spend your 1st round pick on a quarterback, you've now got whoever that is plus Aller plus Howard. If Mike McCarthy can't make it work under those circumstances, I just don't know how he continues. It feels like there's a sense of immediacy to identifying that quarterback.
Well, I'll say this, Coach. For me, I look at it, I use the lottery pick analogy. If they're going to trade up and get a 1st round pick in the top 15 next year, and they're going to package future capital and all this stuff, that's not a lottery pick. That is, you're going shopping.
Yep.
You better pick the right one. That's the time, in my opinion, that they say, Mike, you're looking at Drew Aller, you spent a year with him, 2 years, or a year with Will Howard, but Will Howard's been in the system for 2 years. You know what I mean? They're not it. You better get it right. If you don't get it right, we might be moving on. I think that's it. Dave, I want to give you an opportunity to answer those questions there too.
Yeah. Well, first, I do want to say that the Cardinals took Caleb Proctor, defensive lineman from Southeast Louisiana, pick 104. We do want to, at least, sorry if I ever interrupt, but one thing we do want to do is announce the picks that are coming in for people that are listening. So, and it doesn't look like picks are coming in early necessarily today, like they would do the first couple days. Okay, so am I answering the offensive line stuff or am I answering the quarterback stuff?
We're just on the quarterbacks right now.
Okay, just making sure. Yeah, the one thing I kept thinking to myself last night is you at least now have 2 quarterbacks that you know are going to be on the roster for 2027. So going into next year, I know you're already talking 2027. Well, that's part of what the draft does. The draft isn't always, especially beyond the first round, maybe two. The draft isn't always about what you have to have plugged in right now, ready to go this year. It's great if it works out, but it's really more about building that roster to have returning guys next year, because that's, there are three different parts of every roster. It's the guys that were on the team before that are coming back. It's the guys that come in free agency, and the guys that get drafted. And the guys that get drafted are the least impact of this year's team. But what's you got to remember is that they turn into being part of the most impactful group the next year, because they're part of that group of people that are coming back. When it comes to quarterback, I put this out there. I think it was even in the comments at Steel Curtain Network, and it goes right along with something that Coach KT was saying, and that is quarterback is a different monster. If you're drafting a quarterback in even the second round or third, you really should not have an expectation of them being anything more than a backup. Because if you go back, I went back from 2000 to 2020 because I was looking at a certain number of starts. I couldn't go even more recent because it wasn't fair to those guys. From 2000 to 2020, there were, I think, 60 quarterbacks drafted in the second or third round. 13 of them started 50 or more games. And of those 13, I would have classified more than half of them as backups. Just in that regard. Like I'm trying to think of like Jacoby Brissett, who might even be a star now. Things and guys, would you have called Matt Shaw more of a starter or more of a backup over his whole career? That one's borderline, but it was a bunch of guys like that. So if you look at guys that started more than 6 playoff games in their career, there was 3 of them. And all 3 of them were Super Bowl champions. It was Drew Brees, Jalen Hurts, and Russell Wilson out of 60. The majority of quarterbacks taken in that range are backups. And if you go into the mentality of, hey, if we hit on him being a starter, great. But if at least we have a quality backup, that's really how you should view quarterback when taken in that part of the draft or beyond, in my opinion. So I don't mind taking the quote unquote flyer on the quarterback. If you told me all the day 2 picks and you jumbled them up and I pulled them out in a random order and didn't realize where they were taken, I'd probably feel better about it. I would have felt better if Aller was the last pick, and I would have been happy if Jennings Dunker was the first pick that they took in the 3rd round, and they just happened to get him in reverse. That really doesn't matter. So I think this is more about looking at possibilities, and even if your quarterback only ends up being a backup, that's still not a terrible thing to have because they're still going to start games.
All right, to wrap up the day 2 talk, and then we're going to transition to talking about day 3 and what could happen. If you were to grade not the players but the process of day 1 and day 2 so far, Coach, what would you give the Steelers process on the first 2 days of the draft, grade wise? Don't cop out. Don't give me the social studies teacher crap and give me a grade.
The process on the first. What the hell are you talking about with social studies teacher? Come on. The process on the first day was an F. It was horrible. The optics were bad. I don't care how you slice it, man. I don't care who screwed them over. Did Dallas screw them over? It looks like it. Did Philly? Whatever. If you tried to trade up with Tampa at 15 to get Lemon, which it looks like they did, why would you then sit? Even if you were convinced that Dallas wasn't going to take him, why wouldn't you at least call Dallas and be like, what do we got to do here to make sure that we get Mekhi Lemon? Because there's no way in hell you thought he was going to be there at 21. I mean, everybody had him mocked in the top 15. So once you realize like he's available, if he's your guy, you got to have a sense of urgency because other teams want him. So they screwed that up. No doubt about that. I'm glad they screwed it up because, like I said before, he's not the guy I wanted. But still, that's beside the point. Day 2, I thought they nailed it. Particularly with Bernard. They waited. They probably calculated the board. And then when they felt like they had to make a move, they made a move and they landed their guy. I mean, I think that they did that really, really well. And I even like just them going up a couple picks to get Dunker. They didn't part with anything that was going to be significant. They retained all 5 of those first 3-round picks. And so whatever the best players that they were going to get, they used the capital to get. So overall, I think the process is fine despite that embarrassing start.
Okay.
Hold on. Just updating. Chargers pick 105, take wide receiver Brennan Thompson from Mississippi State. And with pick 106, the Texans take interior offensive lineman from Oklahoma. I'm not even going to try.
Babechi Nwawu.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, I'm not laughing.
I'll
at
take your word for it, Roy.
All right, so Coach gave an F for day 1. Day 2, I didn't hear your grade, Coach. You're trying to cop out again.
He said he loved it. I don't know if he actually did.
He didn't give a grade, though. This is an elementary school. I don't want a grade.
These grades. His grades are exhausting. We know we can't give a damn grade until the process plays out, Jeff. We know
Don't give me your daughter's 2 little heart sticker grades. I want to know.
That's what they're getting. They're getting 3 stars for day 2, and they're getting a poop emoji for day 1. There you go.
The elementary school, we're moving your card to green after day 2. Good job. All right, Roy, what about you to finish up the day 1 and day 2 stuff?
I'm going to have to echo a lot of what Coach said. Day 1, for as many fans that showed up in Pittsburgh, wow. You thought that the draft room may have been empty at that point with what happened with Mekhi Lemon. That is an F to me. I'm with Coach. Plus, on top of it, can we just comment now, like the NFL Network and ESPN making sure that they're letting that call go out too, to make sure it even looks worse for the Steelers? Most of the time they're like, oh, somehow that got deleted. We don't have none of that footage. No, that was even worse. So the F of the optics, even though they may have gotten the better player in the end of things, as McCarthy said, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Maybe that's the reason why Lemon went to the Eagles. And then day 2, I'm along with Coach. I'm going to give it an A. I think when you look at the draft, at least for me, especially from a scouting perspective, if I'm sitting in the GM chair, I value highly picks into the 4th round. Anything after the 4th round, it's my lottery pick, my dart throw. I'm taking traits. I'm taking guys that are special teams players, profiles that I like, that I can develop. Picks 1 through 4th round, I'm looking for contributors, whether it's rotationally or I'm projecting them to be starters. That's what I'm looking at here. And I thought they hit home runs picks all the way through the 2nd round. Jeremy Bernard's going to be a top 3 receiver this year. Drew Aller has the traits to be a starting caliber quarterback if he's caught right and commits to it. You have Jennings Dunker. It's a could be a week 1 starter at left guard, and Dalen Everett could be a long-term starter and contributor as a gunner on special teams and on coverage teams. So I really think day 2, A+, first day, F, even though I love the Hanachor pick. Just the optics were absolutely garbage.
Well, and just remember, I didn't ask you to grade players. Coach, I agree, and I'm not suggesting that we or anyone should try to slap a grade on these players who have not played 1 down of football in the National Football League. But I do think the process can be graded. I love day 2, trading up, even if it was just for, hey, I've said it the last 2 days when we were live. If you got your guy, go get your guy. If that's a guy that you covet and you want, then go get your guy. And they did that on day 2, which they didn't do on day 1. So, Dave, did you want to chime in? You're not a grades guy, but I wanted to give you an opportunity.
I'll actually do a grade, and I'm going to do an overall grade. I'm going to say the overall of combining nights 1 and 2 is I'm giving a B+.
Okay.
And because I actually feel I remind myself year after year to hey, Dave, don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in it. When ever since they passed on Creed Humphrey, I remind myself, you've got to let the whole draft, or at least more of the draft, play out before you get too upset about other things. Now, going back to that Creed Humphrey draft, I still say that if Christian Darrisaw wouldn't have gone the pick before and they wouldn't have taken him, that really would have taken me out. But anyway, I've said that too many times. And hopefully Roy even agrees with that. So my biggest thing was I didn't really like the pick. I felt like they were shuffling too much with the offensive line, not really looking like they know what they're doing. And the biggest thing that bothered me was you're taking an offensive tackle 3 of the last 4 drafts. So you know that one of them is not going to be a tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're either not going to be with the team or they're not going to be starting. One of them's not going to be a starting tackle, or they're not going to be, or they're going to have to move to a different position. So we know that there might be more to the injury with Broderick Jones. I thought Dylan Cook was a good enough stopgap that they could have waited a year before addressing tackle. But now that you see they get the wide receiver in, because I didn't know what they were going to get wide receiver in round 2, that they get a better fit wide receiver in round 2 makes the whole Mekhi Lemon thing actually kind of happy it didn't happen. You see them get a nasty guard that you're hoping can be like a Mason McCormick. And then when it comes together, I'm not surprised they took a quarterback. And if you're going to take one that maybe can develop into something special, but he doesn't have to. And I didn't hear this word from either of our draft experts. I assume the cornerback they took is more of a slot corner, based on his traits and everything. And if that's the case, I think that checks off a different box than if he was an outside corner. But Roy, is he an outside corner?
Yeah, he's an outside corner only. He's an outside.
See, because our other draft people said, "Oh no, that's a guy that needs to go inside."
No, he's an outside corner. The length, the footwork is all better for a boundary corner. He's not going to be a slot corner.
All right.
So that's why and trading up after everything, when they fill out everything and check more boxes as it goes on, I even felt better about how it played out in round 1.
All right. So I know Coach has to get going. So Coach, any final thoughts before you leave the stream and go enjoy the rest of your weekend?
I'm heading out to coach a flag football game in the rain, Jeff. So I don't know. I don't know.
We appreciate everything that you coach. Next generation, we're going to be talking about players here is coming from your pipe.
I'm doing God's work right now. Right?
Exactly.
I would just say this, going forward today, I really want to see him add some linebacker depth. I mean, I think Kyle Lewis is still on the board. I know people like him. He's a little bit of a tweener to me. But the kid from Alabama, Lawson, is a kid I really like, and I think is a good fit for the Steelers defense. They need a thumper. I'm not sold on Malik Harrison. Maybe he'll come back, but I feel like they need just a downhill banger, because you got some guys that can play sideline to sideline. Holcomb's like that, Wilson's like that, and you look at like Patrick Graham's defense in Vegas. I mean, you had guys like a Landon Roberts and particularly Robert Spillane who just excelled in that role of like what the Steelers used to call the buck under Mike Tomlin, the on-ball strong side backer. And I really feel like, hey, there's some guys who you could probably add in the 4th round or maybe the 5th that can fill that role. So that's the only thing I'm really looking for today.
All right, Coach. I appreciate your time. Have fun in the rain. We'll see you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. See you guys.
All right, so now we bring in another one of our contributors at the Steel Curtain Network. We have Greg Benevent joining us. Greg, what's up? How are you?
Hey, guys. How you doing? I'm doing all right. I have misty rain and dark clouds here in Southern California, which, from what I understand, is more or less what's happening at the draft too. But
yes.
But yeah, I've had enough caffeine to kind of power through my hangover. So I'm very glad to be here with you guys today. This is great.
Well, real quick, Greg.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did I get out? Did you? Oh,
whoa! Did we lose Jeff for a second? Okay, that's okay.
Whoa,
that's right. You know what this is what this allows me to do. Get us caught up on a couple picks.
We got 2 picks here.
Okay, so we got San Francisco. They took Grayson Halton, defensive lineman from Oklahoma. Then you have the Broncos took Jonah Coleman, running back from Washington.
Yeah, Jonah Coleman's like a Maurice Jones-Drew type back. He's not the biggest guy, but man, is he powerful. And him with R.J. Harvey in the back of that backfield in Denver is going to be interesting. Halton's maybe one of the most explosive 3 techniques in the whole draft class. More pass rusher, but he has short arms. That's why he dropped here to the 4th round. Yeah,
and then the next pick in for the Chiefs was then cornerback. Is it Jaden or Jadon Canaday?
Yep, one of the best slot corners in the draft. Instincts for days, not afraid to go up and punch somebody in the mouth. Great pick there for the Chiefs that are looking to rebuild their secondary on the fly with Mansour Delane and Al Canaday there.
All right, hopefully y'all can hear me now.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes, absolutely.
Technology, you know, like just
Yes.
I was worried the train came through the back. The whistle blew. I thought it might reach the back of the house there for a second.
Well, I also want to say I'm glad that Greg is here because Greg
Okay.
had some great stuff to say for Pittsburgh Standard Time this week. And unfortunately, StreamYard screwed up, didn't process our show, and we're still waiting for them to actually say, all right, we have it now. Here it is, although it's useless now.
Right.
Yeah, Greg, we're still waiting on it. So
okay. I didn't even know that was a thing that could happen, that a podcast could simply get lost, like it wandered into the woods and never came back.
Yeah. So the Jets just traded in. Who was supposed to be there at 110? It looks like it was supposed to be Cincinnati.
Yep.
Yep. So now the Jets just traded in. So they're on the clock at 110 with us 11 picks away from the Steelers.
Which, by the way, the Jets have been killing this draft.
They're doing
all
all right.
3 of their picks
It does
on the
seem
first
that way.
round was awesome.
I hate to say it, but Cleveland has had a decent draft too.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody had to say it.
Well, let me put it. Maybe they didn't have an awesome draft, but they drafted names. And so
Right.
a lot of people will say, oh, I know that guy. Second round pick. I heard of that guy too. They must be having a pretty good draft. They were saying that this guy could be in the first round. So at least they're getting names. We'll put it that way. But Greg, what I was trying to say before technology interrupted me.
Of course.
What has been your takeaway so far of the draft?
My first takeaway was a lot. I was sitting to peel back the curtain.
I hate to interrupt you, Greg, but
No, please do it.
Coming off the board.
Okay.
Because the Jets take Cabe. How did you say his last name from Clemson, Roy?
No idea.
Who was it?
The quarterback from Clemson. Cade.
Klubnik. Even I know how to say that name.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's who the Jets traded up to take. So there you go.
Oh.
Right, sorry, Greg.
Okay. No. Please, that interrupt me at all times because I was taking my time to get into the point when I shouldn't have. No, I'm comfortable with the draft now. As the draft goes on, I become increasingly more comfortable. I wasn't nearly as down on the pick in the first round as so many were. I tuned into your guys' live stream, and I think I heard you use the word funereal, Jeff, or like a funeral in the live show. And I remember thinking,
it was very funeral-esque in terms of everything. It was like something just pulled the plug. It's like deflated.
Oh, geez.
I mean, it felt like the entire restaurant that was filled with Steeler fans went from we're super excited to and now we're just dead inside.
Which I totally get. I mean, isn't that something we kind of did talk about, Dave, and the podcast that has been lost into the ether was the idea about no matter how this draft goes, on some level, you're most likely going to feel disappointed, if not at the grand sum total when it's over, but certainly at times. With this draft being stretched across 3 days now, it feels like a roller coaster, even though it shouldn't be, because we're not going to know the results of this for years. So yes, but as day 2 went on, I felt obviously buttressed by them bringing in the receiver and the Drew Alar thing that I don't think my mind is still wrapped around that. That did feel like to me, I don't know if you guys said this on the thing, but that felt like that was beyond any speeches about the virtues of Green Tree. That felt like the real beginning of the Mike McCarthy era. Like this is the real thing for him. This is where it actually starts. This is the first I definitely don't think they would have done that with Tomlin or perhaps that's my own trust with it, that I could trust McCarthy with Alar in a way that maybe even me, a Tomlin dead-ender, might not have felt about Tomlin and Alar together.
Dave?
I want to go in and I want to say something.
Please.
I have to give you all an explanation. You're like, how do you not know that name of the quarterback from Clemson?
I
because
think it's
Jordan
okay if you
Schultz
don't.
spelled it wrong. And therefore I'm like, wait, there's no N in his name. Why do I want to say that it's Klubnik? Because he spelled it wrong. And I thought
he put Klubnik.
Yeah. Klubnik. And I'm like,
Dave, you're such an idiot.
Either. So that's why I didn't want to say
How did you not know this?
Dave, you're so stupid. Klubnik. What a moron.
You definitely haven't looked at a lot of names over the last 48 hours.
Then he tweeted it and spelled it wrong again.
Yeah.
Must be
the next pick is in too, guys. Denver Broncos select Cage Hasty, the lineman from Boise State.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big physical. He's going to probably play guard in Denver there, but he was left tackle, multi-year starter out there for Boise State, wired the right way.
Okay, so just to recap, everyone, in case you forget, you said that was Denver, Roy?
Yep, Denver selected Cage Casey at
Okay, so
111.
So Dallas is on the clock at 112. The Steelers have pick number 121, and then in 161 in round 5. Then nothing in round 6, and then 3 7th-round picks, which we'll talk about that when we get there. But 121, 121. Roy, where do you want to see the Steelers go here?
Yeah, for me, I have 3 guys circled on my list right now.
He's got names, not even positions. All right.
Three guys on my board right now that I'm looking at, staring in the face. 2 of them are linebackers, Kyle Lewis, or I actually believe he's going to transition to safety. If I was going to portray him, I'm putting him out there as the overhang defender in the nickel and just letting him eat.
Okay.
And I would go Kyle Lewis if he's still there. That's my number 1 guy. Second one would be Harold Perkins Jr., the linebacker from LSU. I described him as he looks like one of the hyenas that just attacked the zebra because that's the way he plays on the field. He's just attacking at all points. And if he wanted to tore his ACL in 2024, you're probably talking about a second-day linebacker here.
What was the name again, Roy?
Harold Perkins Jr. from LSU.
Okay. What's the third
I've
one?
already heard Roy mention all these names before on his podcast, whether on his own or with Jim. So,
my final guy, Eli Heidenreich. If I'm taking
Heidenreich, take him yesterday, and you guys
I've heard of
him right here in the 4th round. I love that aspect, knowing he'd be my punt returner, kick returner. I think he could be Kenny Gainwell if he wanted to be a running back, but I also think he could be Randall Cobb for a receiver core. So I'm taking that guy and taking a roster spot maybe off a running back and receiver in one guy, the way Connor Hayward kind of did a couple years ago with running back.
I was saying Connor Hayward doing a bunch of different things in one player as well.
A lot of people are comping Heidenreich to McCaffrey, and yes, greatly so. Even I did so. If you look at just the basic stats, but if you compare him to Randall Cobb, very similar type player, and that's the guy I have circled because he's actually at the draft as well. He's a Mount Lebanon kid. It'd be a great aesthetic look for the Steelers as well, plus a valuable pick on their roster. So I think 4th round, if he's there. If not, maybe you can get a linebacker a little later like Jaden Duggar or even Red Murdoch, who's a Vince Williams clone. I'd take that guy.
A lot of them.
See, Jim Wex was already tweeting from your list, Roy, where he likes Kyle Lewis, Elijah Surratt, and then he added in Heidenreich and Perkins.
Well, what's funny there, Roy, is that some of the names you said, I believe you had named off about 5 or 6 players. At least 3 or 4 of those were brought in for top 30 visits. Kyle Lewis, Jaden Duggar from Louisiana. That was a local. That was when we learned that it depends on where they grew up. It's not just where they went to school.
Right.
And then you also mentioned, I forget the other guy that also came in for a visit. That
Harold
does
Perkins.
matter.
Yep,
yes.
He came in. That was a lot because of the knee. That was mostly a medical check to see if they could be comfortable picking him. And like I said, you could get I think he's a star caliber linebacker. You can talk to Jim. He had me on his podcast, and he's like, when I read Jim gave me the honor of writing his butt kickers article, but I had to I reclassified it to tone setters this year because I'm a pastor. I don't swear, so
can't say butt.
He didn't want me to
You're making it more inclusive. That's kind. That's kind.
Kickers, so I called it tone setters, and Perkins is one of my guys on there. So I just had to throw that out there. So it was a real honor that he let me. Usually that was always his article every year, and he kind of let me have it this year. So it was a blessing to do that. But he's like, yeah, we're not calling it butt kickers. You got to find something a little meaner than that. I'm like, all right, tone setters. So
there you go. I love it. All right, Greg, what about you? Where do you want to see, even if it's positionally, where do you want to see the Steelers go?
I mean, you guys kind of covered it since you're, actually far more knowledgeable than me. But no, the idea of bringing in someone who can, someone that can play somewhere you mentioned Kyle Lewis, whether he's a safety or I could see something like that, and someone to play in the secondary, someone to be that backup safety who could also maybe help on special teams. I mean, to have someone at some point anywhere actually be, an actual returner, someone with real practice in this. If we're going to have 3 7-round picks, which I hope hopefully that's not the case by the time it gets there. But if you're going to have another if you're going to have even multiple 7-round picks, someone that could return the ball, yes. But I'd be fine with someone in another safety, someone in the defensive line. I'd be fine with all of that. But I don't know. I find it harder and harder to predict as this goes on. But yeah, I'd be okay with those.
Offensive tackle Drew Shelton to the Cowboys at 112. He's from Penn State.
Okay. The Ravens
he was also that's one of the bridge laying foundational pieces between Will Howard and Aller. He was actually Will Howard's tackle in high school. So that was one of the people that helped them kind of cross a bridge even beforehand that it becomes Steelers here. So
Jeff, how many people can we have on the screen at a time in here?
I think we can have plenty. If anyone has to go, Greg, you're busy. Roy, I know you're busy. You're welcome to stay as long as you want. We'll bring Andrew Wilbar up, and I think we can get Brian Davis on here as well.
I think it looks better with 6 up there anyway. Yeah,
there we go. So we welcome those in. Just to give everyone an update, the picks are coming in rather quickly today. So Dave mentioned the Shelton pick. The pick's already in for Indianapolis. We just don't know it yet at 113. Dallas is on the clock at 114. Then you have the Ravens and Buccaneers at 115 and 116. So the Steelers at 121, not too far off. Andrew, welcome. How are you?
Doing well. Setting up shop at B-Dubs today for at least a little while. So watching the draft here.
There you go. Very good. Brian, what's up?
Yeah, Roy was just talking about being a pastor, and I know Andrew too. And then I feel like I'm more pastorly than both of you. So I will say that I've actually done 15 weddings in my lifetime. So I will say that, and you know how clean of soul and spirit I am. I don't like to say anything questionable on any of these shows.
Oh, yes.
So I'm just saying that out. So I'm worried about Roy and Andrew offending me.
Well, I can say when I woke up extremely tired this morning to get everything ready for today, I did not expect to have a pastoral competition on a podcast that's based on the NFL draft. So I checked that box. I didn't have that box on my to-do list, but I just checked it. So good job.
Well,
Brian.
see, I even it out because
free space.
I'm the devil on people's shoulder usually. I'm the instigator. So maybe you guys could help me backstage. I appreciate that. I'm thrilled about day 4. There's a lot of names that I'm familiar here with. I'm going to throw out a couple, and I'm bummed my boy Darrell Jackson Jr. is gone, and I see that. I love Keontae Scott. I'm still a big fan of Keontae from Miami. I think the pick here is Kyle Lewis, though. I think they want to go in that direction. You know, I'm also looking, though, I think it was Andrew it was Greg mentioning kick returner. I am still holding out hope, and I think everybody else knows this guy's name too by now, but they double dip with Iowa again. I want Caden Weechin in the 6th or 7th round. He returned 4 last year. Was it last year or his entire career, Roy?
His career. Over his career. Yeah.
But
you're taking
3 of them were punt returns.
Punt return only, though. He's not much of a receiver, so that's. Are you going to be able to carry the punt return only?
Take Florida cornerback Devin Moore.
Somewhere we haven't got the Colts pick yet.
And the Ravens select Indiana wide receiver Elijah Surratt.
Well, they're double dipping with
as I said, that's
wide
a name
receivers.
even I know.
Yeah.
But the big name here, and we talked about all these, if the Steelers double dip at wide receiver, I think if you've already mentioned him, I apologize. I absolutely love Skylar Bell. I thought he was going to go in the 2nd round.
Jalen Farmer, guard Kentucky, is who went to the Colts.
Big physical mauler from Kentucky.
Yep. That's what I wanted if they didn't get Dunker.
Yep.
Sorry, Dad.
That's all right. Roy, I don't know of any small people from Kentucky that play football.
No.
Even the wide receivers go 260. Hey, they had J-Lo, Darren Lorenzen, all those years back.
Oh, that's right.
I remember that.
The hefty lefty.
Dwarf Dave Schofield.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace, I believe.
Yeah.
He passed away.
Yeah, that's sad.
Kidneys quit on him.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
Andrew, real quick, what do you think the Steelers should do here in the 4th round? The pick is coming up quickly.
My top guy would be double dipping at receiver, but for the big guy, Jeff Caldwell, the athletic freak from Cincinnati. If you look back at his 2024 take, this season was a little bit not what he was expecting it to be. He was dealing with some smaller injuries, but go back to 2024. He was a 1,000-yard wide receiver, absolutely phenomenal at the catch point, great on 50-50 balls, obviously has the explosive speed down the field. He's going to be like my guy there. Is just an extra depth option as a boundary receiver. But I agree with what you all were mentioning. I think Kyle Lewis is a high potential pick here with the local ties, the need, and just the way that he plays the game. I think fits what the Steelers want to do.
Ryan, you're gonna have your heart broken. Tampa Bay just took your guy,
Keontae Scott.
Keontae Scott to the Buccaneers.
That's that. I'm fine with that. I still love Skylar Bell. He's my number one here. I still think it's Kyle Lewis. My question to you, Andrew and Roy especially, he's a safety as far as I'm concerned. I don't think they would draft him as a linebacker whatsoever. I hearken back to 1989 when they brought in Carnell Lake. He was linebacker, UCLA, and they turn around and they said, no, he's safety, UCLA. He never had a shot at linebacker.
Best coverage backer, like at Mobile, you can see that coverage skills. And we were just talking here before you jumped on, Brian. I'm transitioning him to safety or overhang defender from the nickel. That's that aggressiveness downhill with his speed and his profile as far as length and size. Perfect strong safety, overhang type defender there, even in the nickel.
Okay, so to give everyone again a rundown, the Tampa Bay's pick being in, the Houston Texans are on the clock at 117. Then you have the Lions at 118, the Panthers at 119, the Packers at 120, and then the Steelers pick at 121. Roy, I'm sure you have your big board there. Who's the best of what's left so far?
So right now, all the prospects, Keontae Scott was my last one in the top 50. He was my 39th ranked player. I have a few players in the 51 to 75 rounds. We have Joshua Josephs, the edge rusher from Tennessee, Keith Abney, the second from Arizona State, the corner, Kyle Lewis at 57. I actually had Nussmeier at 58, the quarterback. He will not be an option. A guy that's really interesting to me, Jalen Kilgore, cornerback, nickel corner, can play safety from South Carolina at 62. Then you have Mike Washington Jr., the running back from Arkansas, Connor Lew, the center from Auburn. Tore his ACL late in the season, or else he probably would have been an earlier pick. And then Harold Perkins at 71. So those are the guys within the top 75. And then you have two receivers right after that, and Deion Burks and Skylar Bell, which is 78 and 81 on my big board that are still available.
Andrew, what about you? What do you have the best of what's left according to your stuff?
Highest rated player I have is Jalen Kilgore, safety from South Carolina, who's still available. He was 49 on the big board. I've got 54 to 9 Dennis Sutton, the edge rusher from Penn State. Had a really phenomenal season, all things considered. One of the few bright spots they had. Mike Washington, running back from Arkansas, was at 59 on the board. Connor Lew surprised me. He's only 20 years old. He had a phenomenal season at Auburn this past year. High upside center pick, and there's a lot of teams that still need interior line help. I imagine he's going to come off the board quick. And then to finish out in that 75 range, Sam Hecht from Kansas State, Skylar Bell, Deion Burks, Jensen Smith, the safety from Arizona, and then Jeff Caldwell.
All right, good stuff. All right, I'm going to throw it to Greg.
I was going to say we didn't ask Greg his list. No, sorry.
Oh, yeah, exactly. No. Right, exactly. Yeah, which really that does not exist.
No,
pass. Or I concur. I think is actually my list.
I have a better question for Greg.
Please.
It was last year in the 4th round, I do believe. I know Dave will correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was here for the 4th round last year.
When they took Jack Sawyer and everyone said, whoa, didn't see him taking an edge rusher there. That was the kind of response. No one was upset. Right. If there was a position, Greg, that would fall into that Jack Sawyer surprise category, what would it be this year, in your opinion?
Tight end.
Okay.
I mean, they lost a few. They're going to bring one in. The only other thing I thought is maybe running back, but yeah, I would think tight end is the one that makes us all make that and then cock our heads like a dog looking at a fan, like we did 1 year ago. But
But it
All right.
turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes, right,
Dave-
exactly. That, again, that the case for cautious optimism, even when something seems surprising and or off-putting or disappointing during this
Yeah.
draft.
Dave, would you have a different position?
Gentlemen,
Brian, what's up?
Go ahead, Brian.
oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm lagging here. I apologize.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say punter.
Fourth round, that's Daniel Sepulveda territory right there out of Baylor.
Now. That's
Wasn't
why
he
I
fourth?
said it.
Wasn't he fourth rounder out of Baylor?
Yeah.
Daniel Sepulveda.
It was
I thought so.
really
just
early.
got
That
his
sounds right.
ACL.
17, I think he was. They traded up for him.
Yep.
I mean,
I forgot that.
He had ACLs made out of I don't know, parchment paper or something. It was bad.
Dude was yoked up top though.
Oh, he
I
was
wonder if
thick.
When he was available, he was. I liked him, but he wasn't available all the time.
Yeah. It's still no Colin Holba, but we'll make do. All right. Brian, I'm sure you'll answer this in about 10 seconds. Is there a position for you that you would be shocked with the Steelers going with in round 4?
You know what? Absolutely right now. I mean, it's one that they already took. They're not going offensive line. I cannot see that here. And so I would be shocked if they went back to the offensive line. I am a little bit disappointed, fellas, that you didn't ask for the bad board because I actually have one.
Oh, go for it. The bad board. Go do it.
The bad board. So Malik Muhammad is very high on my list right now. Cornerback out of Texas. He is still around. I still have on my list. I have running backs on my list. And I would like to see, actually, I'd like to see them go to Penn State quite a bit. But I really like Katron Allen as well. And I could see that as a possibility maybe in this draft. I think both Penn State guys are falling a little bit. Deion Burks from the wide receiver. Of course, Skylar Bell is high on my list as well. But I look at Genesis Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's my
We'll get
top
back.
guy.
We'll get back to the bad board. Jacksonville Jaguars are trading up to with Carolina to take this next selection. So yeah, that's pick 119. Steelers are at 121. So this is going to be. Am I reading that correctly?
Well, 117, the Chargers just traded up with the Texans. They're at 117.
Okay, that's there. So the Lions are at 118.
Yep.
Jordan Schultz is reporting that the Jacksonville is trading up to the Carolina picks at 119. Okay, so
Yep.
Jacksonville wanted to leapfrog Green Bay for something or some position. They're going from 124 to 119. So that's interesting. All right.
I'm getting confused with all these.
Chargers are taking.
Obviously, they're
Hey,
behind. What's up?
hey, here's a name. Chargers are taking Memphis offensive tackle Travis Burke. The Steelers had shown interest in him.
Roy
mountain of a
really
man.
liked him.
Mountain of a
6'9".
man.
He was a tone setter. He played at left tackle, right tackle, and that's a great pick for the Chargers to sit behind Joe Alt and all these guys that have injury questions. That versatility at left and right, but Alt could flip the left if Slater keeps having problems. But Burke is just a guy that'll he'll bury you in the dirt.
Yeah, big dude. Big dude. All right, so for those that are confused, here we go. The Lions are the next up to make their pick. Then, according to Jordan Schultz, it would be the Jaguars at 119. Then you'd have the Packers at 120, and then the Steelers at 121, barring any other trades.
The Lions are taking Michigan linebacker Jimmy Rolder.
Okay.
So speaking of Andrew Wilbar's Wolverines, the Wilbar Wolverines, I have a guy here that could be a possibility for the Steelers. We have not seen defensive tackle yet. Rayshon Benny is a guy who I've seen rising. Do you think he is fourth round potential here, Andrew?
He could be. I mean, he is a high effort player. His motor's always going at 100%. He was very well respected inside that Michigan locker room. He brings the energy along the defense line. He's one of the catalysts to really provide some energy, especially going into that bowl game. Between him and Rolder, just kind of motivating the team after everything that had kind of gone on with Michigan over those previous, those previous couple weeks and all the drama that was surrounding there. He was someone who just was the team went to, and he was kind of that calming presence for them during that time. And I don't know if he has the length to be a 5 technique in the NFL. I see him more as a 3 tech. I don't know if Roy would agree with that or not, but I think he'd be a great fit for a 4-3 team as a rotational player who can play some in sub packages as well. But I don't know if for the Steelers, at least in a base 3-4, I don't know if he has the length to be able to play in that 5 technique role. He doesn't fit the prototype of what the Steelers typically go for, but a high effort player who's going to come in and work his tail off.
I'm kind of different, Andrew. I actually think he's a good fit at 5 technique and then slide into that 4-eye. I think he could do that pretty well in the Steelers front. He does have pretty good length. He has 33 and 3/8 arm length, total wingspan of almost 82 inches. So big guy, athletic, more of an older prospect. He's going to be 24 this season. So that lower length, maybe 6', 7 defensive lineman, somebody you could work in. Nobody's going to outstrength the guy. He's somebody that can hold the point of attack pretty well.
All right, so the Jaguars traded up. They made their selection. They're taking Duke edge rusher Wesley Williams.
Stick of dynamite. He has a great first step quickness, pretty advanced hands, but the bend's pretty impressive for that guy. I actually like Vincent Anthony, the other defensive end that was with Duke. He's more of the tall, lengthy guy, but he wasn't as burst. He didn't have as good as burst or first step quickness as Wesley Williams. So looking for a guy with Jacksonville tackling behind the Josh Hines Allen and the Trayvon Walkers, maybe in that designated pass rusher role.
All right, so that means that now with that pick being made by the Jacksonville Jaguars as they traded up, Green Bay is on the clock and Pittsburgh is next on deck at 121. All right, prediction time. Greg, who you got?
I mean, I'll be the first one to say it. I'll go Kyle Lewis. So that way, those of you that are far more knowledgeable about this can say more unlikely things.
All right, very good. Roy, what's your prediction?
I would love to say Lewis, but I'm going to Eli Heidenreich here.
Oh, okay. Andrew Wilbar, what's your prediction?
No, I'm going to go with my guy, Jeff Caldwell, just because.
Okay. Brian, look at your bad board. What you got?
I'm going safety Genesis Smith out of Arizona.
Okay, and Dave Schofield?
Roy took my pick. I don't know who to say now.
All right, I'll switch mine, Dave. I'll go Harold Perkins Jr.
There you go.
I don't think just one of us can claim one player. I think that's okay.
Okay,
pick is in. The Packers take
yeah.
Penn State defensive end Danny Dennis Sutton.
Nice
It's really
player.
interesting that he fell there. He tested out
Steelers on
this
the clock.
world. And had production there. He was surprising he didn't go earlier. Andrew, I know you just talked a little bit about him. You want to talk about what you really liked about him?
I like the various pass rush moves that he has. This guy he keeps it creative. He plays a little bit high sometimes, and I'm wondering if maybe that's why he looked a little bit stiff at times. But he gets creative with his pass rush. He's got a really, really good spin move, actually, which is fun to watch when he deploys that. But you talk about some of these pass rushers that went even in the first round, second round, that didn't always have the production. He was one of the guys who actually did produce. He had the stats to back up his game and then tests off the charts. So I think this is a phenomenal pick for Green Bay. And you think of some of the other guys that they've brought in. Obviously, you have Micah Parsons there, but you have the Iowa guy they brought in a couple of years ago. Who's very similar build, just a little bit bigger, Lucas Van Ness. I think he's going to fit in really well here. He can be an early down player in year one with the potential to develop into a whole lot more.
And the Packers are somebody that really value length and speed and athleticism in those edge rushers. So like you said, a guy like Lucas Van Ness, who is a darling.
There it is. Pick is in. Steelers are selecting Iowa wide receiver / returner Kaden.
Oh, there you go, Brian.
Whoa.
Come here.
Whoa.
All right. There you
Did we
go.
have that? Did we lose him? Did he freeze on us?
We're all silent again.
Yeah.
Did Brian predict that?
No, he said he wanted the Steelers to take him in the 7th round.
I was going to say a lot later. Yeah, he manifested it just a bit early.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Brian,
I
you
did
wanna
not
talk-
hear
go
the
ahead.
pick. I didn't hear the pick.
Caden Wetchen.
I hear you talking about me, but who's the pick?
Caden Wetchen, the punt returner, wide receiver from
You're
Iowa.
kidding me.
Nope.
Roy, Andrew, cover your ears because I'm about to go off happily. Woo! Yes,
I mean, if they needed to take him now in order to get him, I'm fine with that. That's all, honestly. And I saw some places where he was 4th or 5th round, and I saw other places that had him as a 7th round. So
he's been Roy and Andrew could probably back me up on this. He's a guy that after the not the combine, but after the Shrine game, you heard the Senior Bowl, you heard his name more and more, and on everybody's board, it seemed like the 7th or 6th round, every team, the fans, the media, they thought he was a darling. I think this is a great pick, and this is a guy, if you listen to the Q&A, there's guys I've been on like crazy, Jeremy, Weechin, and of course a Dunker. Double dip. He looks good in black and gold, baby. I'm a happy man. A lot of my guys are going with.
What I want to know is, other than a kick returner, tell me more about who he is otherwise, like away from special teams.
He actually, now this is according to my good friend Joe 412, who I do shows with on Draft Nation. He's a guy with very good hands as well. They don't go to him a lot, but he can catch the football. I don't want to go ahead and pigeonhole a guy, but I think of an Edelman type player that won't catch a lot of balls at first, but you put him in the right situation with the right quarterback that grows a rapport with him. He's one of those guys that could rise up the charts and be a guy that you never thought of. Like Edelman was a 7th rounder. And so he's much like that. He's going to have to scrap and grow rapport, but he'll be big in the locker room and on the practice field to go ahead and edge his way in. And the team will realize that they have something all along, and he's the guy you never suspected as a wide receiver.
I'm going to take that brief period. I'm going to jump out. I got to go work out some new stuff at an open mic at the top of the hour. But I'm so glad to come on and do this. You guys are doing a tremendous job.
Give your opinion of the pick, Greg.
Opinion of the pick. I thought it was too early, but what on earth do I know? They wanted the guy. They got the guy. It's right now. I'm like, you think about the value. It doesn't necessarily seem like the right value. I won't be saying that months from now if he actually gets a good return. I haven't seen a good, consistent return in how long? Every time there's been a punt or some kind of kick in years, you're just like, okay, well, I hope they get 10 yards and they don't, fumble it or something. Whereas this guy, right now, does it seem a bit steep? Yeah, sure, because I listen to other people. But it could be, I'm not going to think that if he actually busts, I was going to say bust one, multiple, but if he even just busts one, that'd be great. Anyway, the caffeine's kicking in. So on that note, guys, that was great.
Hey,
I'm going to head
Greg,
out.
I wrote
This has
a few
been lovely.
jokes for you.
Oh, God. I mean, sure. You can message them to me. We have email and text. But yeah, please. This is.
What do you call it when Jeff Hartman, Brian Davis, and Dave Schofield get together for a show?
I don't think I've heard this one. What do they call it when you gentlemen get together for a show?
Meatloaf, baby. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
I'm not going to top that. That's great, guys. Take it easy. Have a good weekend.
See you, Greg. Thank you.
All right. I also got to step out to record the breaking news podcast.
All right. You got to do what you got to do.
And then I have to slide to my daughter's graduation. So depends on how long that takes, whether or not I'll be back later. But thank you all for everything.
All righty. Okie dokie. So give me a little taste, Roy. What do you think about this?
I don't want to poop on Brian's parade here, but this is a vast overdraft in my opinion. He's a 24-year-old punt return only guy. He did show a little bit of slipperiness there at the East-West Shrine game when they actually let him play receiver, but this to me just speaks how much they realized special teams needed improved. We had Calvin Austin left, the punt returner. We see the new roles in the kickoff return. He's a kickoff and punt returner guy. He's going to be a big time asset there. So I don't want to poop on it too much, but you are only a returner here. This guy is not going to be a real facet on the receiving core. I just don't see the impact. I believe he had think it was 22 or 23 catches in his career. Didn't have a whole lot of experience running different routes. As far as a receiver too, he body catched a lot of things. So for me, I look at it as special teams only. If you're telling me that we're going to get at least one or two kick return to punt return, I'll take it in the 4th round here because we have a specific role in mind with a veteran-laden roster. But if you're telling me he's going to be our 3rd or 4th receiver, I'm not buying it.
Andrew?
Oh, he's not right away.
Oh, good.
Down the line.
Andrew, what's your take?
I kind of agree with Roy on this one. I think it was an overdraft. I'm fine with it if he is everything that he was in college as a return man, because I do believe it's important and the Steelers can definitely benefit from that. But same thing, it's all projection. When you look at his skill set, he has the talent and he has the route running skills and the hands to potentially develop and decide as a receiver. But we never saw that at the collegiate level. It's just a wild guess. So, I mean, I know Scott Pavella mentioned he kind of looks like one of those New England receivers that they would draft in the later rounds, and they would just get more tread out of him than anyone else would have been able to. And I think that's what you're looking at a guy like Legion. That if you have a specific role in mind for him on the offense, maybe he can play out of the slot some. One thing I will say, in the very little that I saw of him as a route runner, one thing I did notice is that he's very good at scanning not just the initial where the corner that's lining up with him, but he does a great job reading the safeties and seeing where they're going, and he's already thinking ahead. Okay, this is my route. This is where I'm planning to end up. What's the safety going to do? Where is the soft spot going to be? He's already thinking through that in his head. You can see he's very much an intellectual route runner. He thinks a lot through his head, and he navigates through traffic very well in the middle of the field. That's one thing I will say about him that I do like. But it's such a small sample size. It's really hard to tell whether he's going to provide anything as a receiver or not. But I definitely think he makes the roster as a return.
Okay, I want to go ahead and agree with Brian there, because everybody I'm seeing on our own private live chat, I'm seeing on the live chat here, everybody like, I love the kid, but not there. Then when? Mm-hmm. Then somebody else takes him and he's gone. Devin Hester was not drafted to be a corner or a wide receiver. He was drafted basically to be a return man, and they got a Hall of Fame career out of him. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but everybody has been complaining for years about not having a kick returner, not having a punt returner, a guy that could have gone. So everybody that's second guessing, that's fine. But years from now, I'm taking receipts, because anybody that said not here when this guy is an all-pro kick returner, I'm going to say, bad told you so.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so I'm just pulling up a scouting report to see what others are thinking of this pick. So you say it's, how do you say the last name?
Wetchen.
Okay. So Wetchen, according to NFL.com, in case you want to know some measurables, he is 5'9", 193 pounds. He ran the 40 in 4.47 seconds and was projected to be in a 4th or 5th round selection, according to Lance Deerline. The overview, Wetchen is a return specialist first and foremost. He's a threat to flip the field at any time as a punt returner. He eludes or breaks the first tackle, try and maneuvers around opponents in the open field with great vision. Better hang time and faster contain should slow his production, but he'll still be a threat. He can handle pitch plays and swing passes from the backfield or shallow crossers and over routes as a slot receiver. Wetchen offers immediate value as a returner, while a crafty play caller is likely to install packaged plays for him each week. All right. So, I mean, this is just one person's opinion, mind you, but still, he had him as a 4th or 5th round pick. The Steelers get him in the 4th. Just so you know, this is the next pick they'll have is pick 161 in the 5th round, barring them moving up at any point. So, I don't know, guys.
Hey, Jeff,
what's up?
He's Weechin, and I'm not trying to be correct,
yeah.
But
no, you got to tell me that stuff.
He is Kaden Weechin. This is a guy I've been on. I'm taking a lot of crap on the live chat right now. D Steele says, "Shut up, you know nothing." This is a guy I've been on since December, so I do know something. Everybody is saying you could get this guy in the 7th. Somebody's going to pick him in the 6th. Somebody's going to take him in the 5th. He could rise up to the 4th. People rise based on what they want. So
To me,
Steele, you got a scout in your living room. That's great. I've got two scouts here that know what they're talking about. You lose guys, and then you're like, should have taken that guy. Guys, you think they could get in the 7th? You think you know more than Omar Khan, D. Steele? You don't.
Well, I'm not completely put because I will agree with you, Brian. If we're looking at, we have the specific role in mind, there is not a better return man in this draft. Hands down, he is the best return man. What I'm looking at is why would I not look at it in the 5th round at least, not 7th? If you want him that bad, right now you have at least 2 to 3 starting caliber linebackers on the board, and you're telling me you want to take a positional need of a kick returner more than a linebacker or a versatile piece like Lewis. That's where I'm questioning it at, and that's coming from somebody who wanted Eli Heidenreich for some of the same reasons because he has more of a role in offense. So I get what you're saying, Brian, and I can echo you that it's not a wasted pick. I just hate the value in here when I have other players on the board at linebacker, even defensive line, that would play more of an impact on the game on more amount of snaps. He's going to be a dangerous return man either way. I'll wholeheartedly agree with you on that.
Alrighty.
Steeler Kick 46 is an Iowa fan. And I mentioned her yesterday that she is not, she wasn't as much as a fan of Jennings Dunker. And that's something, unless I'm mistaken, she comes on our show a lot on the Q&A. She has seen a lot of Kaden Weegan in the past. She thinks he's a force as far as a ball carrier as well.
I love this guy. So Dave Schofield via our Slack channel sent me this tweet from Chris Adamski of triblive.com. And they're on a call with Kaden Weegan. Is that how you say it, Brian?
Weegan.
I was mistaken.
All right. So
like Weegan Thompson.
Okay. So Kaden Weegan is currently golfing while the draft is going on and just found out while on the course that he was drafted. He expected to meet with family later in the day. His quote is, "It came earlier than expected, and I didn't shank it into the pond after I got picked, so everything is good." That's awesome. He's on the golf course. I remember people used to say when Joe Thomas got drafted, he was fishing. This guy golfing is like, it's perfect. Absolutely love it. He's a fan. I'm a fan now. Weegan. All right, so
I got to pop out for about 10 minutes, but I will pop back on a little bit later.
All right, Andrew, appreciate it. So this guy, we think kick returner too with the new rules, Roy?
Yeah, he has experience kick return and punt return, multiple touchdowns, not just good averages. Sees the field really well. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's gonna have an impact in this season, and with the different roles now, this is a value pick as far as that way. You're looking at the Steelers system in valuing special teams. You're looking at that's why you're placing a value on him, even more so than receiver. So,
man, the Steelers absolutely are in love with players from Iowa.
Oh, it's like an Ohio State, like almost
uniform.
Almost as much there.
I mean, I know the uniform is, but man, like they've already taken 2 this year. They took 2 last year. It just wild.
Logan
Absolutely
Lee the year before.
Yeah. There is a lot of Hawkeyes on the Steelers roster, and that's with the change of coach as well. So keep that in the back of your mind.
Did they take 2 the Logan Lee year?
They took Logan Lee. I'm trying to think if they took another one before him. I can't off the top of my head with all these players bouncing.
I'm almost thinking they did.
I think they did too.
All right. Well, we'll look it up. I want to go through. Let's get you caught up with the draft. The Raiders at 122 drafted Mike Washington, a running back from Arkansas. At 123, the Houston Texans took Wade. Is it Woodaz?
Yep.
From Clemson, a linebacker. The Bears at 124 took Malik Muhammad, cornerback from Texas. So now the Buffalo Bills have back-to-back picks at 125 and 126.
They took Skylar Bell, the receiver from UConn, with the 125th pick, which a lot of people wanted him in Pittsburgh here.
Buffalo.
Love him. Who did he go to?
Buffalo. So Josh Allen's
Nice
going to really enjoy having that pick.
Absolutely. All right. Just trying to get caught up with everything. So it's going to be interesting. So compare him in terms of size. What's the difference between him and Calvin Austin III, the most recent pick?
Wechen or
Yeah.
Weegen, sorry. Weegen. Yeah. To me, Calvin Austin had more of an upside as a pass catcher than Weegen.
Okay.
He played outside instead of Weegen's mostly been a slot receiver. More opportunities, was more explosively used down the field at Memphis. Weegen just never really was given a role there on the offense outside of small packages.
Do you think the Steelers say, all right, we don't pick till 161. We've got these 7th round picks. We don't really need these 7th round picks. What are the odds that they might say, let's go up in the 5th, or let's try and go into the 6th to try and get some better draft capital? Roy, what do you think?
I think it's 100% a surety. I don't think we're going to be making all the picks we have left. I think we have 4 or 5 left.
161, nothing in the 6th round, and then 3 in the 7th.
Yeah, I think you can possibly see that, or even a player maybe swap, if they're interested in even Mason Rudolph, if one of these guys aren't really interested in, a team doesn't have a backup per se, maybe a Rudolph or maybe a player here that we see on the back end of the roster swapped out for a 5th round pick or to move up here. I think with so many linebackers still on the board, I think it'd be kind of a discredit not to move up and get a guy like that. I really think linebacker and tight end is the only 2 spots we need addressed at the back end of this draft, whether it's like a Nowakowski from Indiana, or if you can come up and get a Lewis or a Perkins, Jack Kelly from BYU, for example, somebody they brought in they like a lot.
I would have no problem with them taking a flyer on a punter in the 7th round if they have those selections still. Just there's only one on the roster. Cameron Johnston's the only punter currently on the Steelers roster. They're going to need to have some form of competition there. So that I don't know any prospects. I'm not about to pretend that I know who the punting prospects are entering the draft, but I do think that is a need that needs addressed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. There's a kid, I think he's from Georgia. I'm trying to look at my list here quick because I did scout a few punters here, but I don't have them right up here off rip here. But I think
Smack one of them, or is that a kicker?
Who was it? Smack?
Is Smack a kicker?
He's a kicker from Florida. Yes. He has the length.
Okay.
But I think there was one from Georgia and one from Syracuse was like the biggest ones. You have Stonehouse from Syracuse. But the Georgia kid was the one that was mostly, I can't find his name off top of my head here now on the big board. He was the one that was known mostly for flipping the field, could get hang time and some power. Was pretty good at directional kind of work there as well. So yeah, Brett Thorson. Yeah, I actually have him in the 6th round. Brett Thorson is the guy.
I also want to say
with Thorson.
We forgot an Iowa Hawkeye, and that is Sebastian Castro. He went undrafted. But Sebastian Castro, obviously another Iowa product that is on the Steelers roster currently. So
the Bills took another pick here, Jeff. It was Caleb Elam's or the linebacker from TCU. Physical, big-time athlete. A lot of people were trying to project him to a Fred Warner type coming out of BYU. He falls off a few too many tackles for me, but the instincts are there and is a big-time athlete.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with some of these prospects that we've already talked about during the show that, are just hanging around. And do the Steelers say, let's go up and get our guy, which is always the question that I have. They did it on day 2. Let's see if they could do it again on day 3. All right, let's see if we can get caught up here with. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just going to ask Roy. Dave Schofield for years has talked about, Roy, that when you're getting into the 6th and 7th round, that you're basically getting a guy that is a glorified free agent. So as far as that goes, you're getting somebody that is not going to get stolen from anywhere else. Back a couple years ago in 2022, he ended up not playing for the Steelers, ended up winning a couple rings in Kansas City, Chris Oladokun. But the reason he was picked in the 7th, a lot of people complained because the Steelers already picked Kenny Pickett in that draft, and they knew that they would not get him to sign to come here, so you had to force him to come here. I'm seeing people right now in the live chat saying that with exclamation points, you don't need to have to draft a punter. But if you need a player, just because he's not on someone's list, why are we being so myopic saying that you shouldn't draft this guy and shouldn't draft this guy?
No, and I disagree with that. It's especially a punter, even and a kicker at this point. You've seen the last few years the importance of having those positions secured, and a guy like I can't remember his name now, Thorson, I think it was, the punter from Georgia. Yeah, like I would have no problem taking a 6th, 7th round shot at him, and having it, knowing that you're probably going to be keeping him over Johnston, and you're looking to flip the field, especially with our defense. If you can pin defenses in, the offense within 20 yards and have that little extra advantage when we're in so many close games in the AFC North, maybe you don't do that when you're in the NFC South or NFC West, where they're more of a shootout or in domes. But for us, those type of important situations, yeah, at the back end, why not take a guy like that that's going to have an important role in your team? And yes, Dave was somewhat correct on that. Usually in the 6th, 7th rounds, you're looking for 2 traits. You're looking for athleticism and you're looking at growth potential. And if you don't have that, then you better have a role on the team that you want to be specified for. Which punter you would have, so you'd be looking for them to go in. And 6th, 7th round, if you don't want to develop these guys, then you better be able to get them before they go to a different team. As you said, Oladukin, also one of the reasons why he was drafted was to play practice Lamar Jackson. That's one of the reasons why they selected him, was just basically to be on the scout team when we faced Lamar Jackson. And you can go back, I think it was Kevin Colbert was even saying that was one of the reasons why they didn't think they could sign him as an undrafted guy, and 2, they wanted somebody they could develop, but also get a good look as a scout team, Lamar Jackson.
If I'm not mistaken, the 6th round pick that the Steelers traded away at 216, they're picking very early in the 7th at 224, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So even though they went down and lost that 6th rounder, that was almost a glorified 7th rounder, or the 7th rounder is a glorified 6th.
Yeah. Let me go back here. I have the full roundage. Yeah, it was the last pick in the 6th round they gave up to the Seahawks to move up. So yeah, you're not missing anything. You're 14 picks different from where the 230 pick is here, that they're going to be picking. So they have 230
and 37.
Yeah, 230, 237. We actually traded to the Colts, I believe. And then 240.
Let's go ahead and catch up here. Jeff will be back in a few minutes, but another player has gone off the board. We talked about Elam Zor going to Buffalo. Now the San Francisco Giants have an offensive tackle out of Washington, Carver Willis, Roy.
Yeah, Carver Willis is a guy that I kind of equated to Kelvin Beachum. He played a lot of tackle. He was actually a transfer up to Washington this year. I really think he had a 5-position versatility. He could play all along the offensive line. Not the lengthiest guy, but gritty. He could probably play guard. Took some center snaps as well, but he has a lot of experience at tackle. But he's one of them guys, I think, at the next level. That 5-position versatility is what San Francisco is looking at, by having a lot of guys at the end of their career there, a little older, and a guy like their center there is 34 years old, the Ohio State guy that started for him, Jake Brendel. So that to me is just the versatility. He's probably going to get a hat on day one, just with the versatility. And then we have the Bengals just coming off the clock here now. They took Connor Lew, the center,
one of the best centers in the draft.
Yeah, I had him in my top 100 actually. He was my 64th ranked player, that second round range. And if it wouldn't have been for the torn ACL, I think he would have went there. Andrew, I think, mentioned it. He's 20 years old. He'll be 21 this year. A lot of growth potential, zone blocking scheme kind of guy. And he'll be able to sit and get healthy behind their starting center right now. But that's a good investment for the long term there.
Yeah, I fully believe that the Bengals, who I don't love their entire draft, but I think this was a very smart pick with very good value in the 4th round. Cincinnati, they talking about getting protection for Joe Burrow. A center like this is a guy that eventually can start on this team.
Absolutely. And at a 4th round pick, just because of the injury, that's outstanding value for them.
Yeah, I hate that for the Steelers. I love it for the Cincinnati Bengals because I think it was about time they had a smart pick.
Yeah, and you see now teams starting to take these questionable risks. We've seen it with Jermon McCoy coming off the board early on. They're starting to be comfortable with taking players with a little bit of injury questions at this point because the return value of that isn't as important as those top 3 picks as we were talking about, with wanting to have at least starter caliber traits or somebody that could grow into a big time contributor.
So one thing to look at here, and it's funny because when you look at what the Steelers are doing in this draft, and you see that they are drafting, I think they're drafting intelligently. When you look at the Raiders, I think they are drafting exquisitely, and I'll tell you why. Because they already have 2 defensive backs. Traden Stukes is absolutely fantastic. And then they go ahead and, I'm forgetting the kid's name that they got a kid yesterday on the defensive line, defensive back as well. And
they
now
got Trey Zoom. I'm looking back here quickly.
No, Trey Zoom's on the offensive line.
Eron Crawford, the edge rusher from Auburn. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I thought he was a defensive back. I apologize. But now you have the flexibility to bring in a guy like Jermon McCoy, who could be an absolute superstar. We just had another cornerback, a guy that was in my top 100, Will Lee II. Out of Texas A&M, is going to the Detroit Lions. That's a team that's been hurting. So especially in the defensive backfield, when I say hurting, it's just because they've had so many injuries there. I feel like they got a value pick here with Will Lee.
Yeah, I loved him. He was actually my 102nd ranked player on my big board, and physical kid, maybe not the longest, but stays throughout the hip pocket throughout the duration. Really good player for their Carolina and what they want in their aggressive front. You've seen a guy like Michael Jackson really evolve into a high caliber starter last year. Will Lee's kind of a similar traits guy as a Michael Jackson senior there. So great player to kind of mimic under him for a year, maybe take that place 2027.
All right. One of my new best buddies. I've known him for a couple of years. I've always been fond of him. Now I got to meet Corey Eckenroth in person. Corey, I'm not ripping on you. I was surprised that I'm not tall.
We're losing him.
I think we're losing.
Corey, are you there? I'm sorry.
There we go.
We were losing you there for a minute, Brian.
All right, I'm probably going to drop off to go and fix my internet here, so I'll be back on. But nice to see Corey Eckenroth in here. Like I said, I'm not taller than many people, and I was surprised. You look taller on the computer.
I appreciate it.
But no, it was great working with you yesterday. I hope we can continue to do that more and more. Great job over the week. We appreciate you, the sacrifice coming down to Maryland. Let's go ahead and look at the Miami Dolphins. Trey Moore from Texas, linebacker. Roy, I'm going to jump off real quick to fix my connection, but I'll have you and Corey go. But can you tell us about Trey Moore? Because I don't know a lot about him.
Yeah, so Trey Moore was actually a transfer from UTSA. Texas kind of played him off-ball linebacker until this season. They played him in more of an edge rusher. He is a dynamic 3-4 outside linebacker type. There from Texas, was dominant at UTSA as a freshman, even as a sophomore. And then we also just had another pick here come off the board with the Chargers. Genesis Smith, the free safety from Arizona, who we've all talked about wanting the Steelers maybe to take a look at. The Chargers wind up sniping him at pick 131. really good over the top free safety, the deep third type, keeping everything in front of him. Sometimes his tackling mechanics leave some to want, but I could see him having that Kalen Bullock type arc if he can ratchet up that intensity as far as tackling ability, but the coverage skills are there both in zone and man. Andrew, do you have anything?
I'm just catching up to speed. I'm back. So who is that pick?
Genesis Smith just went to the Chargers, and then Trey Moore went to the Dolphins at 130.
I really like Genesis Smith. He's got great range, and the tackling is the only concern that I saw really of him on tape. It takes poor tackling angles. Sometimes he lunges a little bit before the player's there. Just some of that needs to be cleaned up. But overall, I mean, he's rangy. He reads the ball well. He trusts his eyes. He breaks on the ball quickly. I mean, all those boxes he checks, and he's got good size as well. His 4.5 is plenty fast. And across the board, he's just a really solid athlete, experienced. There's not a lot to dislike about it, especially with that length. There's a lot of upside, though.
And what's your thoughts? Is it Corey? Did I get that right?
Yeah, good to meet you, Roy.
Good to meet you, buddy. What's your thoughts on some of these latest picks here? Trey Moore and Genesis Smith.
I liked Genesis Smith. As Andrew was saying, he had good size and good speed. One of the many safeties that the Steelers could have picked originally when pre-draft went through. I would have considered round 4. So this is probably the right range for him. So I think that's a really good pick for them. I think they're going to get a good player. He's obviously coming from a good college. He's got good pedigree, so I can't complain with that.
Yeah, and that guy was one of the top playmakers on that defense with Traydon Dukes and even Takario Davis the year before he went to Washington. So talented defensive secondary there, and they're getting quality coaching if a lot of these guys are turning into NFL prospects. So don't be afraid to look at the Wildcats even in years to come, as long as that secondary coach is there.
Roy, I want to ask you a question about safety since you just brought him up. Sorry, I had to step out there quickly.
Oh, you're fine, buddy.
What did you think about, and I thought the safety would be a priority, or not a priority pick, but they would definitely target one on day 1 or day 2. You look at the current depth on the Steelers roster, it's a lot of short-term, not long-term gain. Jalen Ramsey, no one knows how long he'll be here. The Brisker signing was only a 1-year deal. Yeah. Where do you rank safety in terms of team needs, not just this year, but also in the future?
I think it could be right in that scenario, as we were talking with tight end and linebacker. It could be put there. But I think a lot of this is how they're valuing their safeties now. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of cover 2 over the top. Patrick Graham played a lot of split safety looks, so maybe you're not putting value on that true free safety that's over the top. They're looking for more of the aggressive downhill pursuit type guys than the pure ball hawks over the top. So I think, to me, it might be a philosophical type thing now with Graham wanting to maybe play that split safety more than having the true over the top free safety like a Minka. They want to have guys that are more aggressive in zone and be able to play that over the top, keep everything in front of them. Does
Brisker fit that mold for you?
Yeah, he fits the split safety look more than the over the top free safety. He has decent coverage skills. To me, he's a very similar player to Deshaun Elliott. They both are great fits for a split safety look. If you want to talk about having somebody more in the pure rangy free safety over the top, we don't have a guy like that, which a guy like Genesis Smith would have been a good player. And there's still one guy on the board right now that I think if they want to go safety, it'd be a player they'd be looking at, and Zakee Wheatley, who actually played with Joey Porter Jr. there at Penn State. He's an older player. He's 24, but he's more of that rangy free safety type that maybe you could add into the coffers with a Deshaun Elliott, just to have some different type look.
Hey, let me ask you guys this. With Brisker, he wanted to come to Pittsburgh. And do you think that it's a situation where Omar Khan only offered him so much, he took it anyways as a prove-it deal to Omar Khan, hoping that after this year he might get extended for something longer and a larger contract?
I mean, I could see it, but I also think you got to look at the realm of what a safety is looking at on the free agent market. That's the only other market outside of running back it's been suppressed. That they are really a fungible type prospect where they don't value, unless you are really one of the top echelon, maybe top third safeties in this league. Teams don't value you on a second contract. And Brisker, the reason why I think he had to settle for the 1-year deal was the concussion history more than anything. If you're looking at him as a pure player, you're probably going to a 2-3 year deal similar to what Elliott's got with us with the Steelers. But that concussion history had a lot of pause on the open market, already the position that's suppressed when you're looking at how you build a team. They think safeties can really come and go, or we transition cornerbacks that are going to be moving off.
I think a big question to a lot of this stuff, and you bring up the 1-year contract. I've said this a lot this offseason with the new coaching staff and a new coaching regime. It really is interesting to see what's going to happen with certain players at certain positions. You talk about Patrick Graham playing a different style of defense than the Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin defenses. We sit here as fans and kind of hope we know what's going on. I don't know. I mean, Mike McCarthy and James Campen, as an example, said, we're expecting there's 5 open spots. I think you say 4 because I don't think anyone's touching Zach Frazier. But if there's 4 open spots, may the best man win. And some people might not like that, but I kind of like I think competition is great. And I think it breeds everyone to not rest on their laurels, so to speak, and to up their game. And so I think this new coaching regime, this new coaching staff, we're going to learn as we go. And that includes the front office and how they handle this draft. So are we caught up on the picks, though?
We just had a pick come in here. I think we are 2 behind here at this point. Jeremiah Wright went to the New Orleans Saints at 132. Starting caliber guard from Auburn there. It's going to probably need just a little bit of development as far as strength-wise, but good movement, skills in short areas. And then Baltimore Ravens actually traded up with the 49ers to 133 to get Matthew Hibner, an underrated blocking tight end from SMU. A little bit playmaking that was sprinkled in there this past year with him and RJ Maryland, Russell Maryland's boy. But Hibner was the better overall talent there at SMU.
All right. And so the Falcons pick is in. We just don't know it yet. And then the Colts are on the clock. And we are only this is crazy. We're only a handful of picks away from going into the 5th round. The Saints, Cowboys, Dolphins, 49ers, and Bengals again at 140 round out the 4th round. So we're not too far away. I want to ask, because I got everyone else's take. Roy, I'm going to ask you this. What was your take on the 10 to 8 minutes in round 1 in terms of time in between picks? Because some people on our network, boy, were they feuding over whether that should be 8 or 10.
I'm torn because I like having the 10 minutes for trade discussions. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. I know everybody was talking about Goodell's first round. I think it was 2007. It was over 6 hours. Now it's, was closer to 3 hours. I would have preferred to keep the 10 minutes than the 8. I understand this is all a sideshow act now, with it being in Pittsburgh and a moving circus, but I think the extra 2 minutes per there would have seen some more trade action, maybe some more clarity. Maybe we wouldn't have a Mekhi Lemon situation where they think they got to call them ahead of time while they're not on the clock. I think we would have been better off with the 10 minutes than the
8. Brian Davis, I don't know if I got your take on that because you were in Pittsburgh. So I don't know if I ever heard it, but what you like?
Oh, I was just entertained by our guys going back and forth at each other. That was just awesome. I made it a really cool WWE with Dave Schofield as Hulk Hogan and Jeremy Betts as the hard kid Shawn Michaels. And I'm just going to say it was so entertaining. But really, it affects trades, and it's kind of like trying to buy on eBay, and what happened to the Steelers in round 1, one of the best in the world, Howie Roseman, just went, and they call it sniping on eBay. They've called it that on years. You wait until there's 5 seconds left and you go ahead and put that bid in, and nobody else could outbid you. For instance, I was at a silent auction a month ago, and I stood next to the one I wanted, and I stood next with my pen ready, looking like I was doing the other one. They're doing the countdown, 10, 9, 8. I jump over when they get to 3, put my name down. Everybody pens down. I got my bid. So when you have not that much time to go ahead and make deals, you've got to be pretty proactive and need to go early. I kind of feel that the difference between 8 to 10, it makes it faster. It makes it more palatable for the people watching at home. But these guys do their homework, and they know you've got to have a plan B ready. And all the time, because somebody can get picked out in front of you. The Steelers had a plan B ready. It was offensive tackle, and they knew where they wanted to go. But the assumption is that they don't know that. So when you go ahead and look at it, I don't think the 2 minutes makes a difference, because right now, what are we, 5 between picks right now?
I think so.
Yeah, it's 5.
So the fact that you've got 8, and we saw yesterday, it seemed like it went on forever, but yesterday, guys were getting who they want.
All right. Andrew, you said you wish it was 10 minutes, correct?
I mean, I wish it was 15. Hold the 15 and then do second and third, fourth round, standalone 10-minute rounds, make that 4. And then day 5 of the draft, have rounds 5 through 7 and split it up. I mean, I'm just looking at it from someone who digests the draft 365 days a year. And it's like, so for that to put that much effort into one event, it's like I don't want it to just go by quick. I want to enjoy each pick. I want to soak in each pick. I want to think about what this means for the team, while also figuring out, okay, what teams can trade up here, and going back to those trade discussions. So, like, to me, the longer the better. I know that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but for someone who puts a lot of hours throughout the year into it, it's like, man, like, this is just going too fast to be able to fully soak in. It's like, I want this to be longer so I can actually digest it a little bit more.
It's like a dad at Christmas.
I gotta say this. Like, I wish the draft was the way it was before, when it was 15 to 20 rounds. Why we got to stop at 7? Like, I wish I'm with you, Andrew. Like, I wish it was longer and less undrafted free agents. Like, let's go fully. If you invest in this, like, for me and you, Andrew, and you guys that love the evaluation point, let's go more draft picks and less undrafted guys.
I'm with you, Roy. Let's go all the way back where it's not televised and you just see it in the newspaper the next day.
That'd be fine if you want to do 3 days, and then the 4th day is like we're 7 through 15. That's just all of us guys doing streams on where it's coming in or whatever.
Because for me, I mean, if the NFL released it as like a mock draft simulator and you would just see the picks coming off, that would be pretty exciting and also mind-numbing. But for me, I'm not a draft guy. I've said this a million times. I don't have a bad big board, a big country scouting big board, and Andrew Wilbar's top 200. I don't have any of that. And I get crapped on every draft season because Jeff doesn't know his stuff. He doesn't do his homework. I don't. I'm more worried about the Steelers that are already on the roster and knowing them like the back of my hand, yet let alone all the college prospects that are coming out. So I don't give a crap. I want it to be done as soon as possible. I would love for, like I said, I wake up tomorrow and it's like, oh, here are the Steelers picks. Here's what they got in round 1, 2, 3, etc. But I know that's never going to happen. There's like 650,000 people over the course of the weekend going through Pittsburgh. So that's definitely not going to happen. All right, let's see if we have any other picks in. We do. Did we got the Falcons, Kendall Daniels?
Yeah, we have back-to-back linebacker picks here, Jeff. Kendall Daniels played safety at Oklahoma State for about 3 years before going to Oklahoma. More that hybrid, player that's linebacker, safety, mostly settled in at linebacker after adding some weight. And then the Indianapolis Colts, after taking C.J. Allen with the Georgia Bulldog there, now back up with another interesting guy, Bryce Betcher, the linebacker from Oregon, who actually was a standout baseball player as well. And now they brought him in the equation here. Instinctive, downhill kind of pursuit guy in the box and real gritty kind of dude. So kind of different profiles there with Daniels and Betcher. But Andrew, what's your thoughts on Daniels and Betcher there?
Is Andrew there?
I like Betcher a lot. I think that he's an old school style guy. Even though he's smaller, he plays like an old school guy. He plugs the run incredibly well. Sure tackler, takes great tackling angles. He diagnoses the run incredibly well. He'll be limited in coverage, but I like him. Kendall Daniels, I think he's got a more upside than Betcher does as a cover linebacker. But there were just a lot of processing issues. Sometimes when you watch him on tape, he's just late to the plays, doesn't always get there in time. It's not because of a lack of athleticism necessarily. He just doesn't diagnose things quite as well as what Betcher does. But that definitely slims down the remaining depth at linebacker. It'll be interesting to see if the Steelers still end up going with one with their next pick or not. There's not a bunch of guys left that you could just say, oh man, this guy's really got a chance to make it in the NFL as a premier player.
Would you have a Cowboys pick in? They have selected Alabama defensive tackle LT Overton.
Like him.
Yeah, and so now we're on pick 138. Only 3 picks left in the 4th round: Miami, San Francisco, and Cincinnati. Any thoughts on the most recent pick?
LT Overton is a guy that I thought that the Steelers could. I was looking at him as a possibility if they decided to go for an edge rusher. It's not a necessity for the Steelers. They have other things that they're looking at. I really like LT. I think he's a working man's type edge rusher, and I kind of feel that this is a good pick here.
Okay. He reminds me of the guy we took in the 3rd round here. His name's escaping me now because I'm on draft head, not previous. Texas A&M, we took him to be outside, then they played him at defensive line.
Leal.
He reminds me of that guy because he could play 4-3 DN, 3-4 outside. Like, he's that versatile guy that you either add weight or subtract weight and see what you got. But powerful hand, pass rusher, can surprise some guys off the snap too.
Jeff, if I could address something, I do want to make people feel better, or maybe they won't feel better about this, but I'm reading in the live chat. There is a question about my health and well-being. No, I have not had a stroke. And so I might speak strangely, but that's just how I am. And I'm 54 years old. I'm slowing down, but I am safe. So you don't have to do a wellness check at my house.
I was gonna say you sound normal to me.
We also had a pick come in too here with the Saints. They took Trey Lance's brother, Bryce Lance, tall, rangy guy, 25-year-old rookie here. So big time speed, kind of rangy target.
Put him with Jordan Tyson. They're looking at the future, and put him with the Arch Manning next year, as the Saints are going to try to tank. They're going to try to beat Miami in Tankathon 27.
Let's see. Oh, so the Cowboys pick, we got that ahead of the Lance pick.
Yep.
So all right, we were just out of order. So the LT Overton is coming up. So that leaves the Dolphins, 49ers, and Bengals to round out the 4th round.
So these are all compensatory picks, right?
I believe they are.
Dolphins were traded from the 49ers comp pick, and then San Francisco's are the own. Bengals was traded from the Jets compensatory picks.
Jeff, something we were talking about while you weren't on here is the fact that the Steelers did trade away their 6th round pick. It was a compensatory pick, and it was the final pick in that round. So that was technically a 7th rounder anyways.
Yeah, 216.
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, I just wish they would package some of these 7th rounders. I know that right now, for those scoring at home, the Steelers have made 6 draft picks. Remember, they had 12 picks overall. And so I set the line at 8.5 or 9.5, depending on which week it was, of how many picks they would take. So they've traded away some capital. There's only 4 more opportunities. If they took them all, they'd end up with 10. So
I believe I said 10, and I don't know if that's going to hold. I think right now I would adjust that to 9, but I'm still taking the over.
Yeah, the 2 early 7th rounders can net them, and if they package them together, they could get into the early 6th, or if they take one of the early 7s and the late 7th, they'd be at the back end of the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think you call a team like San Francisco here, who I know they probably pulled somebody in yesterday, but just like Seattle, this is a team that after the mid 130s or so, they're done. So I think they would actually like to probably get back into the draft as well.
Yeah, any team that has an older roster too, because that's the ones you're looking at here that you need more dart throws on these end picks. You know, even a team like the Chiefs, I don't know what exactly their capital is here left on day 3, but you're looking for, a tight end or some of these corners or edge rushers or D linemen, that you could throw on that defensive side of the ball, or even some linemen. that you'd look to an older team and say, hey, can we package you 2 picks for your 5th or 6th year?
You know, it's funny you mentioned them, Roy, because they've only got 1 pick left, and it's at
Really?
the end of the 6th. So they could quite easily, the Steelers could quite easily package 2 of those 7s and take that pick and give them 2 more.
Yep.
Man, it is wild to me. It's just the ebbs and flows of a fan base, and it's not just the Steelers. It's just the NFL and the way that it is. People love day 2, and then they start with day 3. Now everyone's talking about the return man, Weegan, and how it's not. This is horrible, and everyone's looking at, his RAS score was really, really poor, and it's like, well, it literally is a roller coaster ride with the fans, and I think that just to go back to that selection before we finish up round 4. If he's an effective return man, I'm not going to complain. And even if that's all he does, if that was, even Mike Tomlin always said, oh, here we go. Dolphins take Kyle Lewis. He's off the board.
Oh, wow. Great pick for them. That was outstanding value here at the bottom of the 4th round.
Interesting. So, but I mean, everyone's going to complain about something as it pertains to the draft. Everyone thinks they know better, and they think that their team should do better. But we'll see if it pans out. And we might look back on this like some of the failed draft picks in the past. You think about a Justin Lane, 3rd-round pick, didn't pan out. You think about some of the others. We could have a whole podcast about failed draft picks. I don't think a 4th-round pick is a player that has a ton of expectations on him. Do you, Roy?
No. And that's what I mean. Like, 4th-round pick, you're looking at a guy you're going to develop either way, but at least this guy, you have a noted role for him. As you said, like you already know you're going to have some sort of success, and he's going to have a roster spot as long as he's healthy. You're not a guy that's like, okay, he shows up to training camp and you're disappointed in that pick and you just release him at cut down day. Yeah. Weegan's going to have a role this year. It's not going to matter what contributions he has as a receiver. He's still going to have a role. And it's going to be a valued pick. And if he hits his upside of what we think he can be as a return man, say he's a Josh Cribbs or a Dante Hall type return man. Say he doesn't get to the Devin Hester type return man, even an Allen Rossum type that we had at the end of his career, Jacoby Jones. If he can get to what they were at in their prime, that's a hit in the 4th round.
And I think too, the return game definitely got a wet blanket thrown on it over the years when the kickoffs just became, it's a touchback. It's a touchback. Yep. Everyone knew that was like a bathroom break. You knew it was going to be a touchback. Well, they include the dynamic return now. And now all of a sudden you're seeing teams like the Seattle Seahawks returning kicks for touchdowns. And you're thinking, gosh, the Steelers can't even field one. Yep. Caleb Johnson. And you're like, why aren't the Steelers doing some of this stuff? And you have your starting running backs in Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren last year returning kicks. And this shouldn't be that way. At least that's what I thought. And so for me, the selection in the 4th round, like you said, if they have a role for him, so be it. But as we finish up the 4th round and we have 2 picks left, 49ers and Bengals, what are we thinking going into round 5? Andrew, I'll let you go first.
I think one of the things to kind of watch, that there's still one. I'm curious to see if there is one more run of quarterbacks that will come at some point, not for the Steelers, obviously, but I'm wondering to see if there's one more run when you have like these Luke Altmaiers of the world. You still got a couple guys in there. Taylor Green still on the board. Some of these guys are going to go, but I'm still looking at the safety spot because Jalen Kilgore is still available. He's by far my best player available. I cannot believe he has fallen this far. I had a 2nd-round grade on him. And I don't know if there's any chance. Does anybody think the Steelers could go 3 receivers?
Betts did.
I think it could.
I do as well.
I mean,
and the reason I do as well, Andrew.
Go ahead, Brian.
Sorry, Roy.
No, go ahead, buddy.
The reason I do as well is because I'm looking at the fact that you bring in Kaden Weegan, he's not being brought in as a receiver. You could gadget him, you could do some things with him, but they're bringing him in as a specialist, really. This is a specialist position. So I'm thinking that a guy like Caldwell, who you like a lot, could definitely be on the board here. I think he's pretty much really what's left as far as guys you want to go ahead and look at a wide receiver. But I would pivot over to safety as well. Not only is now, I really like who you're talking about in Kilgore because he's versatile. He's somebody that would really help out back there. Of course, Kyle Lewis is still on the board.
He
You've
just
got guys like that. Okay, well, that just ruins my last point. Who took Kyle Lewis?
Miami Dolphins.
Miami.
Okay, with their 8,000 picks,
Yep.
them and the Browns. But a lot of we've got to realize this, that in the past we've seen this with the Steelers. We can go back to 2014, and whether it worked out in the long run or not, but we go back in 2014 with the 3rd round pick. Everybody is screaming for the Pittsburgh Steelers to take Martavis Bryant. They went and took Dre Archer instead.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's up in arms. You blew it. You're garbage. In the 4th round, they take Martavis Bryant. We did the same thing with Darnell Washington. We passed the Pittsburgh Steelers, passed up on Darnell Washington. Next thing you know, they get him. Peyton Wilson, the same thing. Guys drop. And one thing that these teams do, and my gosh, the Eagles did it better than anybody on Thursday night. They knew who the Steelers were going to pick, because not only are they scouting players, they're scouting other teams and what they're looking for. That's how they know how to move around and move ahead of people. So, you look at it this way, a guy that you want in the 4th round and you pass up on, you could get in the 5th round, in any other round. Now with Kyle Lewis, that kind of taints my theory a little bit, because Kyle Lewis is gone. But what if they had another pick? They could have pulled him in as well.
Well, and I want to say here quickly too, like the one thing all of us from this side here, being we don't work for an NFL team, especially I can speak for myself from having my own scouting company here. We don't get all the information as far as off the field, and we don't get the medical stuff as what everybody else gets. So that's a lot of reasons why some of these guys are falling, is we'll hear whispers, but like the Reuben Bain type stuff with the issues of the accident that he was in, unless you're plugged in and have a source in buildings, usually you don't get a lot of the off the field stuff. You'll get some whispers and you'll get some of the health stuff. But as far as that kind of stuff, which could knock a draft slot down way farther than what you're just seeing from a scouting perspective off of tape, that's some of the other reasons why these guys are still available.
So we just wrapped up the 4th round with the 49ers taking Ephesians Prysock, a cornerback out of Washington. The Steelers had him in for a visit. And Cincinnati Bengals take Georgia wide receiver Colby Young. And that wraps up round 4. Any thoughts on those picks?
Colby Young is a really talented guy. He's a big-bodied, big guy that can get downfield.
Prysock's a guy. I'm sorry, I'm having a little connection problem. I apologize. Good. But Prysock's a guy that he was in the same defensive backfield as Takerio Davis. Mm-hmm. And this is a guy that I've seen him ranked 300, 350, but he, in the past few weeks, even since the combine, he has risen a bit. A lot of people had him as a 7th or a 6th round pick as well. The 49ers see the value in him. So a lot of teams have their boards. They know exactly where they want to go. A lot of people were hoping the Steelers could get a Prysock in the 7th round. Now he's going at the end of the 4th. It's funny what teams value.
Yeah, and guys, with the end of the 5th round here, I'm going to have to tap out here at this point. I really appreciate all you guys let me on here to talk about some of these Christmas presents being open. So keep me in the loop here. What's going on? I got some other family stuff that's going on here, but
okay, enjoy it.
The opportunity, guys, and enjoy the rest of the draft.
Hey, you too, Roy. Thanks for your time, man.
Thanks, Roy.
All right. So to give everyone the lay of the land, again, the Steelers have pick number 161 in round 5, then nothing in round 6, and then 3 picks in round 7. Now, I don't know what everyone's schedule is. I know Brian has a busy day ahead of him. I don't know what Corey's schedule looks like. I know Big Bro Sco is going to be joining us here in a second as he bring him up on the screen. What's up, Rich?
Oh.
I know he's back. He's down. He's up. He's down. Oh my gosh! Stop touching. Who's messing with it? There you go. Depending on who we have available, if we don't have a lot of people, I'm not going to sit here and kill time by myself for the entire 6th round. We might kill this stream and then come back in the 7th round when the Steelers are getting close to picking. Just to give everyone an idea, we spent so much time and energy on the first 2 days of the draft and getting that draft party ready and live and our technology good, that day 3 was kind of like, okay, whoever can join, and then everyone's got plans, and I get it. So just to give everyone that's watching or listening an idea as to what's coming up. What's up, Rich? How are you?
Hey, I'm a little tired. I got home 25 minutes ago. So
good to see you, Rich.
Yeah, long time no see there, Bad.
I got to hug Rich Schofield yesterday.
Everybody.
There you go.
Awkward.
Now, Rich is in real Western Maryland. When people say that Hagerstown is Western Maryland, no, that's not Western Maryland. Where Rich is Western Maryland. That's Mountain Maryland, as we call it.
Yep.
So, all right. Did you hear about the selection?
I did. So been watching the podcast on the drive home. Saw and heard the selection. A little surprised maybe, but honestly, it really comes down to Steelers totally identifying the needs for their team and then going after them.
Yeah. We have the Houston Texans officially kick off the 5th round with Kamari Ramsey, a safety out of USC. The Tennessee Titans are now on the board. So we've got a ways. Man, the Browns have a ton of picks. I saw someone in the live chat say they have, I think, 4 of the next 20 picks. Yeah, so it goes Titans, Cardinals, Panthers, Chargers, and then here we go. Browns, Commanders, Browns, Saints, Dolphins, Browns. That's a lot of nasty orange there. We'll put it that way. All right.
We have a pick in that I absolutely love, and I'm telling you what, the Houston Texans are building. They already have a tough defense. Now they bring in safety Kamari Ramsey, and this is a guy who I thought was going to go in the late 2nd or 3rd round. Out of USC, this guy was a top 5 safety considered by Draft Nation back in January. I don't know why he dropped, but this is a player that I like a lot.
Good. All right. Oh my gosh.
Houston has some nastiness to them right now.
Quick Steeler question, because I'm not sure if you guys talked on this or not. Do we see any other needs that the Steelers really need to go out and get, or are we really at this point in time just possibly taking best player available because we don't see anything that they have to have?
Well, to take a look at this, so CBS, if you're looking at CBSSports.com, they have the Steelers' needs as still. They don't update these, I don't think, throughout the draft. They still have quarterback, safety, linebacker, cornerback, wide receiver, and running back. Quarterback, I think, is off. I actually think corner is off as well. So that would leave safety, linebacker, and maybe another wide receiver, and a potential running back. Of those, first, I guess the question is, Brian, do you add any positions to that?
Let's see. I think running back, I know that's a crowded room. I know you still have Caleb Johnson to look at, but my gosh, you've got the 2 Penn State guys here as well, unless I missed something. But I love Katron Allen. I really thought he was a guy that could go early. You've got home run capability in Nicholas Singleton as well. I think safety is still something they want to address here. You've got, I'm not a huge Penn State fan. I like Penn State, but my gosh, there's a lot of guys from Penn State right now that could go off the board. Zakee Wheatley is a guy that played with Joey Porter. I would consider bringing him in as well. Kamari Ramsey just went off the board, which I was looking at Kamari. Lewis, who is also off the board, I consider him a safety. I think you still look at linebacker too. And I'm going to throw out a name, a guy that came to visit BYU's Jack Kelly. I think he's a working man type of guy, something that Roy mentioned as well as Andrew. And I didn't get a chance to talk about him. We talked about him, Oregon's Bryce Betcher. So I think they're still going to go linebacker here, maybe in the 7th, but they could possibly do it in the 5th too. You might even see an edge rusher sneak in. And why not appease Andrew Wilbar and go Mike Caldwell at 216?
It's good. Corey, what do you think?
I personally, here in the 5th round, I think I'd like to see Zakee Wheatley because JPJ, Zakee Wheatley, and Jaquan Brisker all played together for 2 years at Penn State. So you'd have 3 out of the 4 secondary players all back together again. And during that time in their 2020-2021 season, they had one of the best secondaries in the country. Not to say that that immediately transfers to NFL success, but at least there's a lot of familiarity between those guys playing with each other.
I can throw in another dark horse here, somebody they like a lot. I think the fans like his nickname even more, but if I'm not mistaken, the Godfather's still around. Defensive tackle Dante Corleone.
Yeah, I like his size. He's a pretty big dude. I think in the 7th round, there's still opportunities, and you guys will have to let me know what you think about this. I still think they need to add some talent to the middle linebacker room. With Cole Holcomb still coming back from an injury, we're still unsure what's going on with Patrick Queen, if they might end up trading him after the draft or something like that for future capital. They're going to need to keep adding talent to that room.
Let me throw in another one. I just talked about Deontay Lawson and Bryce Betcher and Jack Kelly. Deontay Lawson's still out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a guy with a 3rd round grade as well. Lawson is from Alabama. I wouldn't mind double dipping from the Crimson Tide. This guy, I know Andrew said maybe he was a little smaller than what he liked there, but I think Lawson is a very good player. I think they can get tons of talent here.
You'll be happy about this, Brian. I actually had him as my 7th round pick in my draft that came out this morning.
Lawson?
Yep.
Wow. That's true value then.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, with all of these other players, all these other names that are still on the board, there's a possibility he could last that long. But at that point, you'd be getting, like you said, amazing value out of him.
I would take Lawson over Betcher at this point.
Well, I think Betcher's actually off the board at this point. I think he went just at the end of the 4th. Let me make sure.
Then I missed that.
So the Browns select an offensive lineman, but this is a couple picks away. So Arizona's pick is in. I don't see that yet. The Tennessee Titans took interior offensive lineman Fernando Carmona. The Cardinals pick is in. I haven't seen that yet, but Jordan Schultz is saying that the Browns, who pick in two selections, they're taking offensive lineman Parker Brailsford out of Alabama.
Betcher did go at 135 to the Colts.
Okay. We did not, Jeff. If I missed this, I apologize, but did we get Big Bro Sco's opinion on the pick of my guy, Kaden Weechen?
Yeah, he said it just felt like a little bit of a reach, but he liked the pick. I'll let him answer for himself.
Yeah, really, Brian, it just came down to if the Steelers identified before the draft that they really wanted to go get a return guy, then you go and get the guy. Whether or not the fans thought it was the greatest move or not doesn't matter. What matters is what the front office thinks.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I really and I feel they had them on their board. They brought them in and they noticed a need. And I will go ahead and say this. I think he's more of a gadget guy than Austin was. And you can do some things with him. But that's with not to disrespect any of the draft analysts that we've had in here, and Roy and Andrew. I wasn't trying to do that, but I kind of feel like there's something special in this guy. So to me, it's not a reach if you want him.
All right, let's bring in Scott Pavel. Scott writes for SteelCurtainNetwork.com. He does our draft coverage. Welcome to the panel, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm excited about Kaden Weechin.
Well, please go ahead and explain.
Scott.
Go ahead and explain why.
Well, first, he's a legend as a return man. He's the only one who won the award 2 years in a row for being the best returner in the country. So the guy is just great. He's also not small. You know, he's 5'9", so that he's short, but he's 193 pounds.
Yeah.
So he's built like he's made out of brick. And I was joking with Andrew this morning about it. Said there's a category that we used to have for God help us if Tom Brady and the Patriots ever get a hold of this guy. And that's Kaden Weechin.
Yeah.
You know, he's Wes Welker. He's Edelman. You need a quarterback who can get in the same page with him. But he's the sort of guy who gets to the defender and then vanishes in one direction or the other. And if he's in sync with the quarterback, he could be a hell of a receiver. It's just only for the right quarterback who he's worked with. And, he and Rodgers are going to work a lot to try to get together.
If Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback, yeah.
To Scott's point, I want to go back. He mentioned Welker. I was more on the Edelman trade. I had Welker in the back of my mind as well. Yeah. But when you talk about Welker, how many kick returns and punt returns did he have for the Miami Dolphins even before he went to New England? This guy is something special, but he was not a valuable receiver for the Miami Dolphins. The New England Patriots made him an MVP of a Super Bowl. They made him an absolute stud, and they made him a number one. I'm not saying this is going to happen here, but I am over the moon.
What makes Weechin so special is his vision, especially in the kick return game. And it's not like Iowa asked him to do a lot as a receiver because they just don't pass the ball very much.
And they don't have a quarterback, yeah.
Right. So coming to the Steelers, he's obviously going to be able to use those kick return skills right away. He also set the single season NCAA punt return record. So punt return average record. So he could definitely play, and he's got a good second gear. He's got some decent hands. So put him in the screen game. Give him a jet screen, good old jet screen, Canada jet screen, and let him create. And let's just hope that Aaron Rodgers, if he's playing, can decide that he actually wants to throw it to a rookie receiver.
Yeah. But also, he can take a pounding.
Yeah.
I heard you guys talking before about comparing him to Calvin Austin. And
He's
Austin
bigger.
was 170 pounds,
Soaking
same height,
wet.
and 25 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
And I saw on the live chat earlier, somebody was lamenting the fact that you could have gone out and got Deion Burks. And Burks is the guy that goes 170, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's about the same size, yeah.
Yep. All right, let's update some things here. Since we last looked at the draft board, we talked about the Titans and their selection of Carmona. The Arizona Cardinals went Reggie Virgil, wide receiver of Texas Tech. The Carolina Panthers went with Sam Hecht, inside offensive lineman from Kansas State. The Chargers went with Nick Barrett, and we know that the Browns selection is Alabama offensive lineman Parker Brailsford, and that leads us to pick 147, which is the Washington Commanders, followed by the Seattle Seahawks. Any comments on any of those players from anyone?
Brailsford.
Silence.
Brailsford is a guy that I saw going actually a little higher than this as well. I think he's fallen. the Browns are putting together a very nice offensive line, and they really needed to. They really needed to add to it. But Brailsford looks like a guy that reminds me a little bit of a Mason McCormick, where you're expecting him to, maybe get seasoned for a year or two, and maybe in year 3 get an opportunity, and then everything happens. You've got to go ahead and let this guy play, and then they start their career so much earlier. I think Brailsford's that same kind of guy. You're not expecting way too much out of him, but he can be a guy that lasts for a long time in Cleveland, and he's a worker.
Okay.
I really like this Sam Heck pick for the Panthers. He should have gone much higher than this. He was the first team all Big 12, and in the last 2 seasons, he didn't allow a single sack. One of the big reasons that he dropped this far was probably due to the fact that he wasn't 300 plus pounds. Typically at those inside lineman positions, you want your guys a little beefy. We typically around 310, 315, because they're going to have to go up against those defensive tackles who are obviously packing some beef.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. The Commanders pick is in. So that means Seattle is on the board, and then Cleveland once again. We're at pick 148, which is again getting us closer and closer to the Steelers pick in round 5 of 161. Go ahead.
I'll have a question for the panel. Why aren't people talking about nickelbacks? And Chandler Rivers is still out there. I think there's a couple of safeties, and I know Jalen Ramsey will do that this year, but we've been lamenting not having that guy to cover the slot and do all the old Mike Wallace stuff. There's guys out there who can do it.
That's a good question. I don't know. I do. Go ahead, Brian.
I like Chandler Rivers a lot. This is a guy that I expected to go in early in the 4th round. So he's a good possibility right here. So, I feel like with Everett, the Steelers might have a guy that they're looking for in the slot as a possibility there to do some nickelback duties. And, maybe not a lot of people have been talking about nickelback, but I have since 2002 when Since You Remind Me came out.
I knew it. So I knew you were going to bring that. I saw it
in your eyes, Jeff. I knew I had to do it.
I do have some breaking news real quick. The Raiders are trading pass rusher Tyree Wilson to the Saints.
Tyree Wilson was a number 5 overall pick just in 2023. I believe he went, or maybe it was 7, but
top
he went
10.
Very high.
The Jordan Schultz says Saints find a pass rusher and former top 10 pick Tyree Wilson after exploring a potential trade with the Giants pass rusher Kayvon Thibodeau.
Okay, I could talk about this a little bit because you've got a guy in Tyree Wilson who came in the first year. There was a lot of ballyhoo about him. He was a player that just got off to a slow start, had some injuries, and there was a lot of excitement about him, and he just never reached the expectations that they had of him. But with what's going on in New Orleans, I think that's a good opportunity for Tyree Wilson. He has been hit by the injury bug quite a bit, but he has some talent, but I don't think he has even come close to be playing like a top 10 pick. And I'm still thinking it's 5 or 7, somewhere where he was picked.
Is it just me, or has there been more player trades this year than normal? I mean, we saw, I think Grenard, that was the big trade to Philadelphia where Minnesota sent him there. You see this trade. I don't remember. Maybe it's just me and my own personal memory. I don't remember this many player trades in the draft, but it seems to be a trend this year.
Usually there's about 2 or 3 at the most. And now we've hit, what is this, 3 trades now?
San Francisco had one too, I think, early in the draft. I can't remember exactly.
Oh,
So
and
that would
Dallas with D Winters yesterday.
So I think we're at 3 or 4.
Yeah, because we had the D Winters pick. Not pick, the trade, where they got the linebacker.
All right, so the Browns with their second of their, I think, back-to-back selections. Oh no, it's not back-to-back selections yet. They went with the Browns are taking Alabama linebacker Justin Jefferson. So back-to-back Bama players. This is after they took Parker Brailsford, offensive lineman. So we haven't had the Seahawks pick yet. The Commanders took Joshua Josephs, edge out of Tennessee. Seattle's pick has yet to be known. Then we know Cleveland's taking linebacker Justin Jefferson. So
I don't know as much about Justin Jefferson, but the other JJ I do know, and that is Joseph out of Tennessee. Here is a player right here that we ranked over at Draft Nation on that show. We ranked him as a sleeper, as an edge rusher that could really make some noise. And then next thing you know, they're ranking him even higher on their list. They're ranking him top 10. Now, I'm looking at whoever's popping up on my phone has a pre-draft rank of 357. So here's somewhere where you can say, boy, if you're a Commanders fan, boy, they overdrafted this guy. But all eyes on him from the Senior Bowl, all eyes on him from the Combine. He made some noise, and he rose from that 357 rank. And a lot of rankings are different. I like this pick for Washington. They have brought in with Sonny Styles at the top, Joseph. They've had solid defenses for a few years, and I think this makes them even tougher. And you have to in that division, especially with the Giants coming on. You never know what you're going to get in Dallas because they typically have a very good offense. And then, Philly. So good job by Washington. I think they can, if they get good play on offense, their defense is young and tough.
all right. Interesting little fact here by Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He says it's the first time since 1976 the Steelers have drafted 5 offensive players among their first 6 picks. So 5 offense out of 6 picks, first time since 1976. That's pretty interesting.
I think we probably could have expected that, especially with the way that free agency went down and they went after so many defensive players, especially in the secondary.
And, to the point, I think they go back to defense here. There's not much we talked about, maybe bringing in another wide receiver or a running back for the Steelers. But I think they go ahead and there's 3 phases of the defense that they could address here. We talked about linebacker. We talked about bringing in another defensive back. And we talked about the Steelers, maybe with a Corleone, getting some more beef up front. I wouldn't be surprised if they go anywhere here.
Also, that shouldn't surprise us with the draft picks, as this is the Steelers have changed coaches and gone to an offensive-minded coach.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you're right, Rich. That shouldn't surprise us at all.
Debate about what sort of nose tackle do you want?
I'm on board with Dante Corleone, and I'm on board with the nose tackle type. I want to go back and revisit Why Black and do that again. I want beef in the middle. I want the irresistible force and the immovable object.
Yeah,
And
Darrell
I
Jackson
think
is
Dante
gone.
could be that guy. And I wanted Darrell.
Yeah. They've been doing that one for a couple of years, going back to Big Dan McCullers. When they were trying to get that long, giant monster, where if he hits, he'd be everything. He'd be a 3-down nose tackle. And that would be ideal. But I don't think that guy exists in this draft anymore. Jackson was the last of them.
No, I'm not that big. Yeah, because Jackson is a massive specimen, but I think Corleone is being not as tall. I think he's still just a big wall, though, as far as a wide load, and I would bring him in.
Yeah, he's a one tech, a really good one, but it's a different style. He's the one who'll penetrate and have pass rush for you too, but they'll have to scheme a way to get him onto the field because he couldn't hold up in the base defense.
And we're looking, and with Patrick Graham, you're kind of expecting them to be moving around there. I don't think in the National Football League that base defenses are anything more than just a name anymore. I think you come out with what is your base, and then based on the game, you move around like crazy. There, you see a lot of times with four guys with their hands in the dirt as well.
Yeah, I misspoke. I meant the basic would have been a better word.
Okay.
The Cam, even in sub packages, it's Cam Hayward and someone else who's big, and they're not really 4-3 where they're trying to penetrate. They're mixing everything up, and Corleone is a one trick pony with a hell of a good trick, but it's one trick. Do you think he could?
Go ahead.
Do you think he could? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. I was just going to update the picks real quick, and then we'll get back to the conversation. The Seattle Seahawks took Bo Stevens, interior offensive lineman out of Iowa. Then we knew the Justin Jefferson play for the Browns. The Raiders took Dalton Johnson, safety from Arizona. The Carolina Panthers are on the board right now at pick 151. So we are 10 picks away from the Steelers making their 5th round pick.
When I was talking to my good friend Big Bro Sco, and he brought up the fact that he does 2,000 mock simulations in a month, he talked about the fact, oh, wait, that's me. But one thing that I did the entire way, if I did not get a guard that I was looking for up front, I addressed some other things, and I was looking in the 5th or 6th round at a guy like Bo Stevens. I think Beau Stevens, and look at the guys going off the board from Iowa. They always have a good deep offensive line. They always have nastiness up front. Yeah. And I'm going to say those Hawkeyes play really well. So you've got a Hawkeye that's now a Seahawk, and he's going on a line that 2 years ago was suspect. And in the last 2 years, they have really built this thing up, and they protected Sam Darnold last year enough to win a Lombardi trophy. And with all of the strengths on that team, offensive line was probably their biggest weakness, and it wasn't weak. That's the thing. That team was all around really solid. And now an offensive line, a unit, is getting so much better. Look out in Seattle. I think they could continue to rise up stay at number 1 right now.
They're going to be tough. Granted.
All right. So like Jeff said, we are 10 picks away right now. Really, really excited here as far as everything else goes. And Corey is assuring everybody that he's got a new microphone coming. And I don't even know how I sound. I'm not even using my microphone today because it's still packed away from the party yesterday. But we're looking at about 10 picks away. Jolly just went, and this is a big one. So Jolly went, I'm not sure where he went, but Zakee Wheatley is off the board. He is now
Panthers.
He's now a Carolina Panther, and that was a position where I was thinking he could possibly go. Justin Jolly from NC State, a nice pass catcher as a tight end. He goes to the Denver Broncos. as well. The next pick that we're looking at will be the Green Bay Packers. But let's talk about Wheatley. And Corey, I want to go to you on this because you follow the Nittany Lions more than most of us, even though I consider myself a fan. Let's talk about Wheatley because I thought he would have been a nice guy to bring into that secondary.
Yeah, he really has good size, and he had really good production there in his senior year. In the college football playoff that they played against Notre Dame, he had 16 tackles as a safety. So lots of good production, good tackler. Wasn't particularly fast, but he takes good angles. So even though he may not be able to play catch up on a receiver, he'll take a good angle and still be able to get the tackle most of the time.
Scott, when we're looking at the needs for the Steelers at defensive back, we were talking about that. You were bringing up Nickelback. Wheatley's now gone. You mentioned Chandler Rivers, but if you're looking at a safety for the Steelers as well, who do you have on your board?
Is Jalen Kilgore still out there?
Kilgore is still there, and I think he's fantastic. And
Yeah, I don't know why he's fallen this far. There's got to be something, but
and he
I think he's
plays
great.
he plays all around the defensive backfield. Thank you for bringing that up.
So Kilgore would be one. VJ Payne,
So where's Alabama?
Kansas State.
Okay.
I'm reading off my board here. Team captain. Let's see, top 3% athletic testing. Who's got the talent? Zerline says the problem is he lacks an enforcer's conviction and arm tackling sometimes lets runners through. But I always thought a lot of that was that he was a step behind processing. So he was making arm tackles because he wasn't quite there yet. And if he just figured it out a quarter second earlier, he would have had those tackles. Let's see, who else? Is Kennedy still around?
Kennedy, I think, is still on the board.
Okay, so he's there.
Or did he go? Could somebody fact check that?
I think he left. I think he went already.
Because now I'm starting to think that he did.
Yeah.
Okay.
While we're looking that up, let's the Green Bay Packers at pick 13. So the Steelers are 7 picks away from being on the clock. They go ahead and, Big Bro, I'm going to ask you to help me out with this because I see Jager. I think of Jägermeister. Is it Jaeger Burton if you're Jager?
That's probably where I'd lean towards in terms of pronunciation, but he could say
Jager Burton from the University of Kentucky. He's the center. He goes off the board here at number 153. This is the pick from Philadelphia. He is a Kentucky Wildcat. So the Green Bay Packers trying to beef up that offensive line there.
Jaden Kennedy went to the Chiefs at 109.
Wow, that was a good bit ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So as we continue in this draft, we've got 8 to go. We'll look at the best available coming up here in a moment. But where are we feeling for the Steelers, fellas? We'll start with Corey. We'll go around the horn. Corey, then Big Bro, then Scott. Tell me what your wish list is, not what they should do, what you're going to say as a fan, and then what they should do.
I think they really should address this inside linebacker position. And for all the things that I said earlier, with Holcomb coming off that injury, we're still not sure what kind of production we're going to get out of him. With the unknown around whether Queen's going to get traded, and just with all of that surrounding that position, they still need to just get an infusion of talent into that room, especially with the talent that's still left here on the board. You have Aiden Fisher from Indiana, Jack Kelly from BYU, Harold Perkins Jr. from LSU. So there's some great choices there in that position that they can still go to and possibly take there.
Scott, do you know anything about the injury history of Harold Perkins? I understand he had an injury at the end of last season, or maybe Rich. Do you know anything about that? Because I think that's why he's considered to be 4th round or lower here. I believe I don't know if he finished the 2025 season.
He had a 2024 ACL. And
Okay.
so he was hampered in 2025 and slowly getting back. That's what the injury was. He's also a little small. He's in 220, 225, something like that, 6 foot.
All right, let's keep it going. I'm going to go to Rich next, but before we do that, we've got Jaden Duggar going at 154, and Jaden goes to the San Francisco 49ers. I think this is coming close to their last pick, if I'm not mistaken. And then DeMonte Capehart goes to the Buccaneers. I almost feel like the Buccaneers are quietly having a very smart draft. This is a defensive tackle. So nose tackle, defensive tackle, right in the middle here. So I would go ahead and say that you've got things going on in Tampa Bay, trying to fix that line. If the Steelers want to go defensive tackle in the next 6 picks, Dante Corleone could be a good bet there. We already heard, Rich, about your wishes for the Steelers coming up in 6 picks. And we heard Corey's wishes. Big Bro, what are you thinking on your wish list here on what they need to do? Are you with him at linebacker?
Yeah, I'm probably with him at linebacker. I think it's going to be defense. It's going to be linebacker, safety, or defensive tackle.
All right, we'll go over to Scott Pavel.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping for a nickel back. I'd love to see Chandler Rivers. I think he's a great player. Or Kilgore. I think he'd be a steal. Although I suspect there's something wrong because the guy's too good to be here in round 5.
Would you consider one of those nickelbacks that you're talking about a rock star, Scott?
Oh my gosh.
All right, Jeff, I'm giving the hosting duties back to you.
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
Jeff, where do you want it? No, I'm not giving it to you yet. In a second, Jeff. So
What?
what's your wish list here for the 5th round pick?
Yeah, my wish list is for them to just draft a good football player.
All right,
I don't
Dave
know.
Schofield.
No, I swear I don't know any of these players. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend like I have a big
I'm
board
talking
in front of me.
position.
Positionally,
Yeah.
I think at this stage of the game, it's literally look at your board, who's the best player available, and make the pick. I don't think that there should be a position that stands out. But what is that?
All right, Jeff. I'm gonna call you out on this because you did this with Coach earlier about being so generalized that he didn't want to give a grade on players. So give us an exact player. Come on.
I don't have a name. I don't know these players. Like I'm not gonna try to put lipstick on a pig and say it's something else. It's not. So I can say that for me, and if they're in that draft room, they went and took a return man gadget guy in the 4th round. They're clearly looking at who is the best value that they see with their organization and their roster, and that's who they're going to pick. So, yeah, I could look up some crazy draft board and just start rattling off names. I don't know who these guys are. I'm not going to lie about it.
I'll give you one, Jeff.
Sure.
Root for a kid named Torian York.
Another one.
He's a linebacker, undersized, but he is a football player's football player. He's got it stamped on his backbone. I am a football player.
I believe that's Taurean. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it. Is that how you pronounce it? But he was one of my minor league draft crushes. I wish Wilbar was here. He'd be able to tell us all about him. But he just makes plays. He does everything. He's one of those guys who'd fight to get on the special team so he can get on the field just to go hit somebody.
Let's go ahead and catch up here. George Gums, defensive end from Florida. He was a guy that was possibly a 7th rounder. He goes to the Indianapolis Colts at 156. As we creep closer, here's a guy that fell down in Detroit right now. Detroit, they are trying to beef up and they've done it in their last couple picks, beef up that defensive backfield, that secondary. Keith Abney's a nice player, a corner from Arizona State, a team that I've paid a lot of attention to over the last year. I think this is a wonderful pick for the Lions. Anybody have any more intel on Abney?
I had him with a second-round grade. I'm shocked he was still there.
All right, I'm going to throw it back over to Jeff because he threw me for a loop when he said put lipstick on a pig, because that reminds me of prom 1988.
All right, so we have the Vikings are on the clock right now at pick 159. Then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 160, and then the Steelers at 161. And then after that, I think we might just take a hiatus from the StreamYard, or from the stream on StreamYard. And then we'll come back again, probably in the 7th round. We'll talk amongst ourselves and when it's a good spot, and we'll start another one. But we'll definitely be back at some point to recap everything for you fans out there, but just to give you kind of an update. So let me know what you guys think about if you see anything in regards to the Steelers pick in a couple picks. So
I think I have Miami on the clock right now.
Miami.
Did they just make a deal? And they took a safety who I like a lot, Michael Taffy.
Michael Taffy. So Minnesota at 159 is technically on the clock. Tampa Bay.
Okay.
And then Pittsburgh. Yeah.
All right. Did we mention Taffy?
I don't remember.
No, I think this is a guy that Kevin Smith liked a lot. That's a good safety coming out of the University of Texas. One that we didn't talk about for the Steelers, but I should have brought him up here. But he now goes to the Miami Dolphins, who have 8,000 picks.
Here, I'll fill silence if you want. Let me tell you more on Jeff's new love affair with young Mr. York. I knew there was something. I was just looking from my board over here. He's 20 years old. He's been a team captain for 2 years.
Wow.
So we were talking about just character football player guys. He's all of that for character and football player.
So you've got Xavier Harris still on the board. Harold Perkins kind of makes a whole lot of sense. I think that's an absolute value pick. Jalen Kilgore is another value pick here. When we say value pick, it's a guy that's dropped that I'm shocked that they dropped. Then you've got the guy that Andrew Wilbar wants. He's probably the one guy rooting right now for them to go offense again. Jeff Caldwell, the wide receiver from Cincinnati. I'm wondering if they go Cincinnati and bring in a guy like Corleone still.
All right, the Vikings pick is Max Bredesen, tight end, Michigan. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes.
Tampa Bay on the clock.
Breedsen's been a guy that a lot of people have been talking about in these later rounds as a tight end. And I think this is the second tight end to go off is this the second tight end to go off from Michigan? Or is this the first one? Am I just mixing guys up?
No idea.
By the way, it looks like the Steelers traded their pick to the Chiefs.
Really? Where are you seeing that?
Actually, it came up on ESPN a couple seconds ago. Chiefs trade up with the Steelers in round 5. Chiefs get 161 and 249. Steelers get 169 and 210.
Oh, they go into the go into the 6th round.
So, what was that late pick that the Steelers gave up? 237?
249.
So that was the last of their 7th rounders. So essentially, they give up a 7th round pick. They send 161 to Kansas City. The Steelers move back to 169. They lose a 7th and they gain a 6th and 210. No, I'm sorry, that might be a 7th. 210 might be a 7th.
Yeah.
Not 210 is a 6.
Close. No, that's
210. That's a 6.
Okay, I thought it was, but the Steelers had already given up 216. So 210. They move into the 6th round. So 161 goes to Kansas City. Now the Steelers have some time to wait.
And that's fantastic. And we forecasted that, and we're hoping that they would move back into the 6th round, because that's actually a very good move for them. They only, when you're going back 8 picks in this round to go back to 69, that's fine. But now you don't have as long a wait. You're back in the 6th round at 210. It's the tail end of the 6th round, but it's still a nice move.
So, Brian, were you on Bishop Fitzgerald, the safety?
Bishop Fitzgerald?
Yeah.
No, I think we played against them in high school, but I know I'm not familiar with them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going down my board here as I'm looking. He's another one I had with a 4th round grade, so he'd be in your steal category. High school quarterback, worked his way up from JUCO all the way up till he was what was it? I don't know if he was a team captain, but NC State, and then USC. There was something there. I forget exactly what the details were. Somebody on the site was really high on Bishop Fitzgerald.
It was not I. A guy that I was high on, and I'm telling you, Tampa Bay is quietly having a fantastic draft, if you ask me. Billy Schrauth, the guard from Notre Dame, just went off to Tampa. I want to go back and look at Tampa. Unless I'm recalling wrong, I think they're fantastic. But Schrauth's a 3'10", 6'4" guard. He was a captain at Notre Dame. What a nice pick for them. And they got the guy 2 years ago that was the darling of the draft, it seemed, at center or guard from Duke.
Yeah.
What was his name? Can anybody tell me that?
Something with a G. I'm blanking. I had the biggest draft crush on him that I think I've had on any player.
And then the Steelers were able to get Zach Frazier.
Yeah.
But he did go up pretty high. Man, that name's just escaping me, but I agree with you, Scott. I think it is with a G.
Graham Barton.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't watch a whole lot of film. I only do it when I have questions about somebody. And I spent hours just watching him do stuff and saying, this guy is going to be great. And then they passed on him because of Faltanu, which was, you couldn't exactly blame them for that. I think I lost 3 years of my life waiting for Frazier.
I lost a lot of time of my life waiting for Frazier to come on as well. There's a lot of NBC shows back then in the 90s and 2000s that you had to just sift through until Kelsey Grammer breaks our screen. No one else is saying anything.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes silence is golden, you know.
That's not on our crest. The Davis family crest does not have silence is golden. You've met my family.
Yes, I have. All right.
My wife walked into the restaurant yesterday, and you could immediately hear her, and she's the quiet one in the house.
No, that's your daughter.
If you get to know her, when you get to know her, and you know her, but she gets a lot louder.
I bet. All right, so the Steelers trade in. They went from not having a 6th rounder, and we might be able to take a break, to not probably taking a break. Fun. All right, so still 4 picks. They didn't give up a pick. The Kansas City Chiefs with the pick. They haven't made their pick yet. It's in, but hasn't been announced.
And so this would have been the Steelers' pick.
The Chiefs are selecting Nebraska running back Emmett Johnson. So that would have been the Steelers' pick.
Yeah, not actually a little bit of a surprise that the Penn State guys are still on the board here. Mm-hmm. Emmett Johnson has grown in the past. I would probably say in the past couple weeks, he has risen quite a bit.
There's a position that would shock me if they went running back.
Yeah, Singleton's probably dropping because of his injury at the Senior Bowl.
Okay, I've got to bring this up because Corey just put something on our Slack channel, and it just says the Steelers' newest returner, Kaden Weegan, got wheels, all caps, and he basically he went from the yard inside the end zone basically on a straight line until he got to the 8-yard line, and just did a little bit of a juke to get in, but it was almost straight line. 101 yards.
I do want to read this. Nick Faribault, he writes for PennLive.com, covers the team, a Steelers beat writer. He says, I've pounded the table all draft season on the podcast for Arizona State inside linebacker Keyshawn Elliott. Is he off the board or has he been selected?
He's still here.
He said still on the board. This was not recent. It was 48 minutes ago. He said still on the board in the 5th round. I think a team's going to get a steal in this range. So
yeah, he's still there.
You remember Nick, don't you? He was
Nick's
one of our
fantastic.
behind the steel curtain.
Yeah, no, I remember bringing Nick on at Behind the Steel Curtain, and I've had him on my podcast a bunch. He's become quite the name in the Steelers beat writer arena.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
And not
I
just
finally met
the
him in
name, a
person on
respected name.
Yeah.
I met him and his sister on Thursday evening, and you would not guess they were brother and sister. She's a nice young lady.
That's good to know. So 162 is on the clock. Baltimore Ravens. The Vikings, Jaguars, Titans, Bears, Bills, and then Steelers. The Bills with all their picks now.
The Bills are looking to trade down into the 19th round, I believe.
The Baltimore Ravens pick is in. Don't know what it is yet.
Maybe the Bills think that if they just keep trading down, it'll end up as 2027 value.
That sounds like something Cincinnati would do.
Seattle ought to trade with us. They have no picks left. They can get some.
Same with San Francisco. San Francisco, I think, is at 171, and then they're done.
They got lots of picks next year. What do they need?
When do you all think that Nussmeier gets selected? And is he the next quarterback selected?
No. Actually, I'm going to say he's not. I think Taylon Green is actually going to go ahead of him. And I'm getting to the point now where I think Cole Payton, who a lot of people won in the 4th round, is probably maybe over him. But the fact that his hands are tinier than Kenny Pickett's, and the fact that we heard the Steelers say it, and I'm sure they're not the only ones. McCarthy said it, not the only ones that value a bigger-handed guy, because when you're in cold weather, there's only so many places that this guy could go. I wouldn't be shocked to see if the Saints take a late flyer on him because his dad's the coach there.
Okay, so the
experience not to. Are there any dome teams that need a quarterback and really could use just a long-term backup?
Dome teams that could use a long-term backup. I'm just looking at the list.
It might have been the Saints, but
Saints are coming up at 172.
Yeah.
I think Houston could be one of those teams.
If he wants to sit behind everybody in Atlanta.
Who's Miami's backup? Is it still Quinn Ewers?
Yeah.
And I think they like him there, but I couldn't really see New Orleans right now even though I said they could take a late flyer on him. But if they do that, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to move Spencer Rattler.
You can't pick your own son if you're the coach. I mean, that's it. Just how? I mean, I have 2 kids. I have 2 girls, but I couldn't imagine dealing with them professionally and having to coach them hard like that, or not coach them hard in front of the team. Just be.
Well, we've seen it in college football. He's not the head coach. Sometimes there is nepotism because it's familiarity, and they give these guys a chance.
All right, so we have a couple picks to talk about. The Baltimore Ravens at 162 took Chandler Rivers, cornerback out of Duke. The Minnesota Vikings took Charles Demings, cornerback out of, I guess, it's Southern Florida.
Stephen F. Austin.
Okay. And then Jacksonville Jaguars, their picks in. We just don't know what it is just yet. And now the Tennessee Titans at 165 are on the clock. So the Steelers are at 169.
For the first time in my draft watching life, I know 2 back-to-back fifth rounders at corner. And Charles Demings is a guy from, Stephen F. Austin's, it's a smaller school, but he was a guy that was getting some early 4th round buzz. Chandler Rivers was getting 3rd round buzz out of Duke. Rivers is a guy that, I'll let Scott talk more about Rivers because he brought it up earlier.
Oh, he was my right behind Keontae Scott and Stoops. He was just smaller, but guy can move. He can cover anybody. I really thought he was a lot like Mike Hilton. That was my comp. Tough guy, fights above his weight class. Plenty fast enough. He's going to be a good player.
Sounds like a Baltimore Raven. Really does.
Yeah. Well, I winced with you.
Yeah.
He was my secret hope for the next pick.
That's a team. Yeah. And you just lost that guy as well. He was your nickel. Demings is another guy that can play in that nickel territory. So I'm kind of thinking that I'm jumping on board with the guys that are saying linebacker now. I think that's the next pick. I would go Lawson. I would go Perkins here, and they still have they're still going to get somebody good at 169, excuse me. This was a smart trade, and you guys forecasted it more than I did.
Here's somebody who we haven't talked about at all, and I think he's probably a 7th round target, but could be 6th. Lorenzo Styles Jr., Sonny's big brother. If you want to, he'll learn to be a safety. I think that's his ultimate position. But that guy's another athletic miracle. That whole family are wonderkins athletically, and he would be able to play deep. He just needs to learn how to do it.
Well,
all right, go ahead, Brian.
It was just going to be some nonsense spewing out of my mouth. So go ahead.
We have 2 picks to announce. Charles Demings, the cornerback, is there. Tanner, here's tight end at Houston, Koziol. He goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars at 164. So the Tennessee Titans at 165 are on the clock. Their pick is in, so the Bears are now on the clock at 166.
You know what? All around ball is unhappy that the Steelers haven't gotten a nose tackle. I'm still thinking Corleone could be among this mix too, if they don't go linebacker. I would probably say nose tackle, defensive lineman, or linebacker is probably the pick here.
There's still a couple of safeties, but yeah, I agree with you. Those 3 positions. Kilgore is still out there.
And why is he dropping? That's
the question. Yeah.
And that's what we just don't know. What does the war room know that we don't?
Yeah.
And I think we've got to think about that a lot. That there's different things on. It's like that episode of Seinfeld when they're writing in the medical chart, and they're desperate to see what's in the chart. So everybody's got a chart, and there might be something in there that's keeping them away.
Yeah, it could be medicals, or it could just be things you learn when you shake someone's hand. I think that's a big thing people forget.
Singleton's gone.
Where'd he go?
Tennessee Titans.
Okay. Where are you getting that?
Live chat.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I
No.
guess I shouldn't source the live chat, but the person who said it has been picking a lot of them that he's been 100% so far.
ESPN has that as well. Yeah.
Yep. It just came up on CBS Sports. Nicholas Singleton, running back, Penn State University. And so then we go to Chicago at 166. Then back-to-back Buffalo Bills, 167, 168. And then the Steelers are on the board. And where Bears pick is in, Buffalo Bills are on the clock. The first of two.
All this silence.
It's okay. We just got to let it digest. See what's going on. I think it's funny that places like CBS don't update their team needs and still have quarterback on the list for the Steelers. I don't know.
Maybe they think that the Steelers need two of them.
Maybe they're busy.
Maybe they didn't want to pay weekend overtime.
Good idea.
Maybe they're soaking wet. I'm looking out my window. Now the rain has paused for the moment. It was just a steady, constant rain all day.
Which breaks my heart because it's prom night for the kids here at high school, and we're supposed to go take prom pictures in the next hour, and it's wet out.
It is raining, yes.
And I'm not going to the prom if anybody asks in the live chat. I did threaten my daughter that I was going to jump in as a chaperone.
Nobody has asked you to go to the prom?
Can't imagine why. Look at me.
Like high school all over again.
Yeah, I mean, look at this guy. I'm a dancing machine on two legs.
All right, so real quick, because we don't have a lot of time, but Scott, in a timely fashion, how was it in Pittsburgh so far for the draft since you're there?
I was only down there on Thursday, and I really wanted to get up and watch it live. So I got to the stadium 5 hours early, got right out to where the draft would be 4 hours early. I figured I could just sort of, wiggle my way up a little bit. It was at least 400 or 500 yards deep, solid, shoulder to shoulder, no wiggling allowed. And I couldn't even see the stage. I'm 6 foot. I couldn't see over enough people to see the stage. I just went, forget this. Headed back down to the Strip District, hung out with Chris Carter and Nick Faribault when he was there.
Well, I thought that you were talking about I know people have been complaining about beer prices, that they're just exorbitant. I think a 20-ounce beer was like almost $20.
I didn't even bother trying it. I got a cup of water, one of the Aquafina bottles. That was $7. I went, oh boy, I'll leave that alone.
Speaking of Faribault, his guy that he was just talking about, Keyshawn Elliott, went to the Bears.
Okay. So now we have the Bills. Their first pick is in. They're still on the board.
They only have one though, because they traded with Buffalo.
With Detroit. Buffalo traded with Detroit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess Buffalo can't trade with Buffalo.
Is Deontay Lawson still on the board?
Deontay is still on the board.
So he's up there, Lawson.
And so is Perkins.
Elarm's or is gone, right?
Yes.
A while back.
Yeah, Broncos. Either Broncos or 49ers. 49ers, I think.
Who else is in here?
So let's have fun for a second with the Bills. I just got to talk, and so Bills trade back yet again, trade 168, and they get in return picks 181 and 213.
It's still, the Bills have been doing it. We've been joking about that, but I can't understand why you're stocking up guys at the end of the draft. Now the Steelers, I thought it was a good move for the Steelers to get back into the 6th round, but the Bills just keep moving on down the road.
I was thinking about that because I was studying the draft charts, and there's that one site that I had in a couple of my articles that has 5 different draft charts. 3 of them are based on analytics, where they went back and they said, okay, if we look at player value over X many years and we combine it, and all 3 of those analytics charts say that trading back and getting more bites at the apple does better. Just does. And the teams don't follow the charts. They didn't follow it this year, God knows. But the Jimmy Johnson chart is nowhere close either. That puts way too much value on the high picks. So I'm not surprised if some team is getting into analytics in a big way. Trading back starts to make more sense for them.
I get what you're saying, and I respect that, but I'm going to go ahead and say here that too many bites that close to the core gets sour. And that wasn't an attempt at a joke. I mean, that's
working too hard.
Real quick, I've been pounding the table on Corleone. It hasn't popped up yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bill's Mafia takes the Godfather.
Oh, they almost have to, don't they?
Oh, he would be their king.
And honestly, he'd fit what they do.
He does fit what they do, but they would go nuts with that idiotic fan base. And if you're a Bills fan, I'm sorry. I apologize. I know some cool Bills fans, but anytime you're body slamming a woman through a burning table.
Someone's saying that they took Kilgore.
That is correct. They took Kilgore, the safety out of
nice
South Carolina.
That's a great pick.
All right. So then the Steelers are now on the clock at 169.
And that is confirmed.
That hurt. He was by far my highest ranked guy left.
What are we thinking here?
Well, it's gonna be front 7. Especially with the fact that Kilgore just went off the clock, Rivers went off earlier. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and say that as much as I've been calling for Corleone, it's got to be one of those linebackers. And so let's go Lawson and let's go Perkins. One of those guys.
Okay.
Okay. I'll pick 2 just to be different. Let's see. Is Nnamdi Oblazor still on the board?
Yes.
He'd be a good pick. And what the heck? Jet. Well, let's go with Jeff's favorite guy, York. Wow. So
Jeff's been scouting him like crazy.
Yeah, totally. I'm just waiting to see someone say something about the draft pick.
Still Dog and a few people are saying they sing Law. Is it
Lions take Kendrick Law.
Okay.
Steelers are on the clock. And Alan Saunders says that the pick is in.
I'm going to say Jack Kelly.
Jack Kelly does make sense because they had him in too.
He would be, and he's a fun prospect to watch.
You know what? Reginald Rivers mentioned, and a guy that I talked to about an hour ago, Rayshon Benny from Michigan, is a guy that he would like to have.
Here we go. Steelers are taking Indiana tight end Riley Nowakowski here at 169.
Good. It's earlier than I
Wow.
thought. I'm really glad.
Offense again.
Got an offensive coach, Rich. That's what you said, right?
I know, but
Well, we were also debating the merits of whether McCarthy wanted 3 tight ends on the roster still.
yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I am going to go to do a breaking news pick. So thanks for your time.
No problem.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about this. Anyone know anything about this guy?
Yeah, I do.
for
He was a walk-on, and he was such a good football player. They said, "Okay, you're on the team. Now we got to figure out where to put you." And nobody was really sure, so they started him at linebacker, and that was okay. He was a special teams ace. Then they moved him over to fullback, sort of a Rosie Nix idea, because he was just blasting people, and he was a pretty good fullback. And now they've got him over at as sort of a nominal tight end. There's actually an H-back that does all of the above, but he's 250 pounds, and he plays tough, which is number one. So he can block. The H-back role is perfect for him, and he can move back to fullback, which McCarthy has used in the past. He's been one of my staples for 7. In round 7, who do I want? And Nowakowski was way up there. He was also a high character guy. You make a team as a walk-on, and nobody knows what to do with you, but they want you anyway. You're a football player.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. All right. Riley Nowakowski. So you had him as a 7th rounder?
I was praying for 7th round. I thought he'd go in the 5 to 6 range.
Okay. So not too much out of that was you were praying for, not too much out of where he actually ended up.
Yeah.
Right.
This run on tight ends was wild. I thought that was going to start in round 4 and get going in round 5. And what started in the 3rd, right?
2nd, actually, I think is when it really got started. Is the end of the 2nd.
There was 3 that went in the 2nd, and 3 or 4 that went in the 2nd, 3 that went in the 3rd, or something like that. There was a whole bunch of them, and that was actually supposed to be one of the positions that wasn't nearly as deep this year. But apparently, these teams are finding a lot of value in them.
Yeah, I thought it was tremendously deep on day 3.
Yes.
I just didn't think people were going to go earlier than that.
Yeah.
Nowakowski, Riley Nowakowski. I am glad to welcome you on board, man.
I think it says a lot for his athleticism to walk on and then, keep trying different positions till they could settle him in.
Yeah.
It tells you that you've got a guy that's, I don't necessarily want to say versatile, but they saw his athleticism working in different ways.
Mm-hmm. The wiring's good. They seem to be doing that a lot this year with their picks. Jeremy Bernard is the same basic idea. He's just a hell of a good football player.
All right, so according to Lance Zierlein of NFL.com, he had him projected as a round 7 pick or a preferred free agent. And the overview is Nowakowski's focus on the task never wavers. He's reliable and tough at the point of attack and holds up well in pass protection. He lacks height, length, but is built well and plays with better technique, strain, and finish than many offensive linemen in this class. He became a productive pass catcher in 2025, but he could struggle to separate or win the seam against NFL man coverage. His character and work ethic are outstanding, and he should help elevate run game execution wherever an offense lines him up. So kind of right what you were saying there, Scott. Good job. Appreciate it. The intel. Any other thoughts about this? Anyone?
Yeah, I think the fullback thought is worth exploring. I don't know McCarthy's offense that well, but I know he's used fullbacks in the past.
Well, who did he have in Green Bay? That's who I always try to go back to.
Give me a year, I'll look.
Wasn't that might have been before McCarthy that I'm thinking of the fullback. Was it Cobb or something like that? I don't know.
Coon.
There you go.
Yeah. John Kuhn. There he is. He was a good player too.
You know, a lot of
frozen on my screen. Is he on? How about with you guys?
Yeah,
there's a chance. Yeah,
he's talking, but his lips aren't moving. I thought maybe he was working on the ventriloquist act.
Yeah.
No, I'm working, but it's on an article. I'll get that fixed in a sec.
That's fine. So you know, I think what this pick does is, you know, a lot of teams don't use the traditional fullback as much anymore. But they do like to have somebody that they can slide in,
right?
That can do that, but they can also do other things. And I think this is someone based on, you know, his measurables of 6'2", almost 250, kind of fits that mold.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
Okay. Rich, do you have the draft order? Or does anyone want to update the draft picks right now?
Yeah, let's see. So, pick after the Steelers was Cleveland, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, Cleveland took Royer, tight end out of Cincinnati, and the Patriots took Prunty, cornerback out of Wake Forest. Currently waiting on the Saints.
All right. So the Steelers now, they're back in round 6, but at 210.
See, I know that from, well, I have been told by people who know that Patrick Queen is not going to be back next year.
Right.
So I think, and I'm pretty sure they were trying to trade him, and it just didn't happen.
What do you think was the holdup there with the trade?
What I've been told from sources that I cannot cite is that because I was all on board for trading up to 12.
Yep.
And that deal was, I'm told, basically in place, except Dallas wanted a third rounder as a sweetener. So they wanted Patrick Queen and a third rounder. And the Steelers said, well, Patrick Queen and not a third rounder. And Dallas ended up going elsewhere. The big concern is apparently that he's not a green dot guy. He's Robin.
Yeah.
And Robin's a superhero too, but he's not, you know, the guy who runs your defense. And I think that's where his value is getting stuck at.
Right.
All right, fellas, at this point, I'm going to have to get out of here. I'll probably be back on a little later. I got to grab a nap. I've only got about 2 hours of sleep last night from all the driving.
Go do what you got to do. Where are we at the pick? Thanks, Corey, for your time. Appreciate it.
Where were you driving?
I was at the draft party.
Oh.
I'll be back on later.
All right. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a hiatus, and we have until pick 210, and we're on pick 173. So we're going to shut down this stream, and then we will be back a little bit later and hopefully be talking about the 6th and then also the 7th round picks, which will be coming. So stay tuned for more, folks. I appreciate everyone for joining. Thank you very much.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.